Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So a bit of a 1-2 punch yesterday from the Open Borders crowd. First you had Jay Bally's or Jelly Belly or Governor $50 says the Spalding kid eats it. Spalding. Governor Spalding, $50 says he eats it. That's a little new sort of twist I've put on it. You know, always workshopping. So Pritzker was at the Economic Club of Chicago with all of the rent seekers, mostly rent seekers, pretending to be business people there. The melding of the economic elite and the political elite in Chicago, rent seekers' paradise. He was there to, address economic matters, ostensibly. Boy, the rhetoric was really toned down when he was in front of a little bit more of a buttoned-down set, wasn't it? Didn't hear a lot about ICE agents being terrorists and racists. Didn't hear the denigrating of law enforcement and the apocryphal stories about children being zip-tied and people being disappeared. No. It was the much more reasonable, phony J.B. Pritzker that was present before the Economic Club of Chicago. The one that was the first punch. And this is what he had to say about immigration and border security.
But it starts with that anybody who's progressive is for open borders.
Well, some people are.
Well, I'll tell you that Democrats are not for open border. I mean, we had a real problem, and we needed to do something about the border. But now we need to do something about the people who work for you and work for other people who are here and law-abiding, doing the right thing, and they want to be good Americans. They want a path towards staying in this country, whether we call it citizenship or just legal residency. We need to give them that path, and we're not doing it today. And the Republicans have never proposed this under Donald Trump. He wants to do something about immigration. He should have come into office, and right away he had control of the House and the Senate. The presidency could have passed immigration reform.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line, we had a problem at the border, but now we need to move on to path to citizenship. Seems like a reasonable, middle ground, favorite phrase, approach, doesn't it? Had a problem at the border. Now we don't. I don't know what Pritzker's explanation for why we don't now might be. It would have been nice for a follow-up there. So we had this problem. When did we have it? And then when did it stop? And how did it stop? What's your theory on that, Governor? No, we didn't get to that, of course. Had a problem. That's been solved, he insinuates. And now we need a path to citizenship, and Republicans have never proposed that. Well, in point of fact, Democrats have never proposed it, not when they've been in power. They only propose it as the opposition party. But I mean, that's what they really want. They just know politically it's not feasible, which is why they didn't move something like that when they had all three branches of government under one President Obama. Remember? Also not a follow-up question that was asked. Had a problem at the border. Now we don't. Now path to citizenship for people who are here illegally but otherwise law-abiding. I mean, in fact, Donald Trump has shown a willingness to compromise. He did in his first term with respect to Dreamers, didn't he? But the Democrats wanted no part of it. Dreamers in exchange for a border wall. Democrats don't want no part of it because they just oppose Trump reflexively. They won't deal with him reflexively. We see this going on right now with the shutdown. And So it was no dice. You can't be seen to be dealing with Trump lest you be relegated to the political gulag by your base. And so they didn't. They're not interested in that. They are interested in open borders, though. And I know the moderator said, well, some people do, and he just sort of glossed over that because, of course, he knows the reality, and he didn't want to get into that spitting contest. But his statement that Dems are not for open borders is belied by what? Well, what's the tell? He likes to play cards. He knows what a tell is. The tell is sanctuary state, sanctuary city status. That's the tell. How could you say you're not for open borders when you make no distinction and desire to make no distinction between people here legally and illegally? When your party is the one that has adopted no person is illegal as one of the sort of axiomatic statements of their beliefs. Of course you're for open borders. You don't want enforcement. You call ICE terrorists. You're the ones who make no distinctions between the violent and the nonviolent, but still illegal. Otherwise, you would point out the fact that let's just focus on the 70% of people who have been removed who have a criminal conviction or pending criminal charges in addition to being here illegally. But you won't even acknowledge them because you don't want to acknowledge that the Trump administration not only secured the border, but the supermajority of people that they're apprehending and processing for removal from this country are public safety threats. All that undermines the reality, all of the reality associated with this issue undermines the position they've taken and have taken for so many years. As that Congresswoman from New York famously said, Yvette Clark was her name. We need she didn't say illegals, but we need these people. We need illegal immigrants here because we have to make up in places like New York for the population that we're losing. Illinois fits that bill as well. So does California. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Stu, Southside.
Dan, what's up, brother? How are you?
Good, how are you?
Blessed by the best. Listening to these politicians and these Democrats talk, the only thing I continue to get reminded of is a quote from George Orwell's 1984. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final and most essential command. It's absolutely disgusting.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Stu. Yeah, that Orwell quote circulates a lot these days, doesn't it? Appropriately so. Kevin in Las Vegas. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I hope you have as good a run out there as Pritzker did.
Oh my God, I'd love to. We need to see the video footage on that. Thank you for letting me on here. I know you've noted that I'm going to be off topic. I appreciate it. I had to stay up tonight and give you a shout. I only talked to you once before. It's been a long time, but that feminization of America segment yesterday was absolutely fantastic. I know you said at one point you didn't really agree with the thesis of it.
Not 100%. A lot of it, but not 100%.
Well, the ending to me, the final quote that you read from the article, pretty much, in my opinion, anyways, is 100%. It was the majority female departments are oriented towards other goals than open debate and the unfettered pursuit of truth. So now, just from that quote, are there two people jumped into my head immediately. Is there anyone who you can think of right off the bat that fits that description?
That is uninterested in open debate and the pursuit of truth?
I mean, as far as... Okay, I guess that really doesn't narrow it down.
There's a lot of people in that category.
Yeah.
Good grief, yeah.
Yeah, well, the first two that I remember seeing on TV jumped into my head immediately was Catherine Maher with her... NPR. Yeah, for sure. With the pursuit of truth is getting in the way of getting things done, or whatever the exact quote was. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then and that was on TV in a group of people, and they were eating it up. And the other one was, I think it was on Anderson Cooper. It was AOC doing the what was it? It's better to be morally right than factually correct, or something like that.
Oh, yeah, right. That is a classic. I forgot about that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
And there was one. I was hoping you'd. I'm sure you would remember some of those. And my other takeaway, that it really, really seemed like this one isn't as important, but it just seemed like it was a real long "Why Dan Proft is Single" segment.
It really was, wasn't it?
It was great.
All right, thanks for the call, Kevin. Get some rest. Get back to those tables.
I can't wait to wake up and listen to you in the morning, man. I love the show. You some of the best stuff out there, man. I wish I could call in more, and I'll try to stay up. But I got so many things I want to talk about. But I love your show, brother.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. Appreciate it. We're gonna have to pull those bites. Those are good recalls from Kevin there. Catherine Maher on truth and AOC on morally correct is greater than factually correct. Yeah. Morally correct by whose standards? Her own, of course. Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yeah, does Pritzker think must think that have no understanding of history? And didn't Reagan give amnesty to millions of illegals here, and that was supposed to solve our great immigration problem, and there was going to be enforcement, and the Republicans caved to the Democrat pressure and for his deal, does he not? What does he think? We're stupid? I mean, we've
some
made
of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was supposed to be, and there was never any enforcement.
Yeah, 1986.
Yeah, and they just rolled right over it. Rolled right over it. Don't pay any attention to the law. And
thanks for the call, Marvin. Yeah, no, that's a good point to raise as well. I mean, this is always the false choice that Democrats present. First comes the spending, or no, excuse me. First comes the tax increases, and then comes the spending reductions. Remember that? Or, conversely, first comes the spending that we want, and then comes the tax relief. We'll make that grand bargain. But it's whatever they're leading with is all you're going to get. So first comes the legalization, the pathway to citizenship or permanent residency, and then comes enforcement. Well, you know what you're not going to get. Whatever they're agreeing to as their compromise position. What they want, obviously, they present first, and then what they give, they present second, and you're never going to get what they present second. They do not negotiate in good faith. So they'll ink the deal rhetorically, and they'll immediately take what you've conceded and then work to undermine the viability of what they conceded. So you heard that again from Pritzker yesterday at the Economic Club of Chicago. Coming up, we'll stay on this topic for a bit because I wanted to get in the second part of the 1-2 punch. One Cardinal Supich with a message to Chicagoans. That's at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 46 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keen in the AM 560 newsroom. With federal authorities now threatening to cut Chicago Transit Authority funding due to rising violence on the system, Illinois State Representative LaShawn Ford worries that vulnerable riders may be even more at risk. Ford said that some of the government's most recent actions have only added to the problem.
You had a federal government that, used to be a partner with the state of Illinois. Now, the federal government is an enemy of the state of Illinois that's impacting all of Illinois.
And Governor J.B. Pritzker was a big winner in Las Vegas, but his Republican rivals say the governor's policies are giving Illinois families a losing hand. Former WirePoint's president Ted Dabrowski said that Pritzker is divorced from the struggles of the everyday people here in Illinois. This news report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now
directly to Democrats. Even if you hate this man's guts, isn't it better after the deployed troops in D.C., where there was a dramatic decline in homicide, a dramatic decline in robberies. Don't you like the idea that there might be a few more people alive who otherwise would be dead but for what Trump did?
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Is the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians the revival of an ancient conflict recorded in the Bible?
The nation of Israel is a resurrected nation. So what if there was going to be a resurrection of another people, an enemy people of Israel? The Bible speaks about this whole war as a dragon representing the enemy attacking a woman representing Israel.
Dinesh D'Souza's new film, The Dragon's Prophecy, offers new understanding of October 7th, Israel, radical Islam, anti-Semitism, and biblical prophecy. Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be tied to this place?
We came back to a land that was largely barren and empty, and we brought it back to life, and we're going to keep it.
The dragon will not prevail.
The Dragon's Prophecy, based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller. Watch it now or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. That's salemnow.com.
Family Fun is back at Go-Bert's Farm in Pingree Grove. For over 40 years, Go-Bert's is Chicagoland's family destination for fall fun. Come experience new rides, a huge corn play box, train adventure, farm animals, and our famous pumpkin-eating dinosaur.
This was the most fun day ever. My parents were there, my kids were there. There was a pumpkin patch, a maze, a haunted house, slides, a train, a fresh market, and there was so much more. I loved it.
It's a family tradition for us to visit Go-Bert's. The pumpkins are great, the attractions are fun, and the apple cider donuts are to die for.
Loved it, and almost all the activities were free. My kids had a blast.
And the kids say,
my mom loves the homemade caramel apple.
I have to say, the pumpkin cannon is cool.
They got a pumpkin-eating dinosaur. The live giraffe is really cool.
I love the jumping pillow and the Pumpkin Express train ride.
Go-Bert's Farm in Pingree Grove. Pick apples, visit the pumpkin patch, explore the park, and just have fun. Go to GoBerts.com to purchase tickets now. That's GoBerts.com. Go-Berts, harvesting family memories.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be windy and cool with a mix of clouds and sun. The high will reach 50. Tonight, skies will clear with a low of 39. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a blend of sunshine and clouds and a high of 54. Friday will be sunny with a high of 56. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Talking about the 1-2 punch for open borders that was on display in Chicago yesterday. First, Governor Jelly Belly at the Economic Club of Chicago suggesting that Democrats don't favor open borders. And there was a problem at the border. Not a problem now, magically, somehow. Doesn't know how. And now it's time to talk about citizenship for the people left in this country who are here illegally but have not committed any additional criminal offenses. Although I think that's not really his position. I don't think he cares about people who have committed. He wouldn't mind if people who have committed criminal offenses are also provided a pathway to citizenship. But there's just no need to be exact about this any more than we're exact about, say, who gets paid for by American taxpayers when it comes to Medicaid coverage in the state of Illinois. Just legal Illinois residents? No. But we don't really care about that. So it's a lot of sophistry trying to paper over a untenable position, a politically dangerous position that Pritzker and the Democrats hold, which is they're for open borders. Very few are willing to say it out loud, but then you watch their behavior and their policy choices, and all indications support the contention that, in fact, they are for open borders, because they are. The second punch was the good Cardinal, Blase Cupich. He decided to weigh in again on behalf of illegal immigrants residing in Chicago.
My dear brothers and sisters, today I speak to you as your shepherd, but also as a fellow pilgrim who shares the pain of many of our immigrant communities. Families are being torn apart, children are left in fear, and communities are shaken by immigration raids and detentions. These actions wound the soul of our city. Let me be clear. The church stands with migrants. We stand with a mother who crosses borders to feed her children. We stand with a father who labors in silence to build a better future. We stand with the young person who dreams of safety and a better future. Our parishes and schools will not turn away those who seek comfort, and we will not be silent when dignity is denied. In the enforcement of the law, it is essential that we respect the dignity of every human being. Now, I want to say something directly to those immigrants without documents. Most of you have been here for years. You have worked hard. You have raised families. You have contributed to this nation. You have earned our respect. As the Archbishop of Chicago, I will insist that you be treated with dignity. Americans should not forget that we all come from immigrant families. You are our brothers and sisters. We stand with you. God bless you all.
Who do you stand with? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. It's good news for some that apparently the archdiocesan schools are going to turn a blind eye to students that want to matriculate at those schools and who are in this country illegally. It's good news to individuals like Anthony Emmanuel Labrador Sierra. I wonder what Cardinal Cupich would say about that. Anthony Emmanuel Labrador Sierra. Well, he pleaded guilty last month to multiple charges after forging documents and claiming to be a 16-year-old when he enrolled at Perrysburg High School in Toledo, Ohio. He's 24. And, yeah, he was just, I mean, this isn't like 21 Jump Street here. He's a 24-year-old pretending to be a 16-year-old, and he was, you know, I mean, acting like a regular high school kid, including like dating girls, which 24-year-old and 16-year-old, I don't think that flies. But I mean, that presumes that the rule of law applies to illegal immigrants, and I know that Cardinal Cupich and J.B. Pritzker don't think it should. Family became suspicious. He was staying with the family. Suspicious about Sierra's real age in May, and contacted the school saying they had received information that he was a grown man with children. His guardians later found a prepaid cell phone, a fake Michigan ID with a 1990 birth date, and a gun with 3 loaded 9mm magazines under his mattress. So, again, assuming that, Chris Van Hollen or some other Democrat politician can ride to his rescue and prevent his immediate deportation here illegally, was supposed to be crossed illegally in 2019, was supposed to be gone by 2020, and yet here we are in 2025. That's how it works in the real world. particularly under the last administration. Anyway, if Chris Van Hollen or J.B. Pritzker or Cardinal Cupich is able to intervene, maybe they could put him up at one of the Catholic schools in Chicago, help him finish out his education. What do you think? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro line. More from the huddled masses yearning to breathe free, since they make no distinctions. I do. And we can have a conversation about people here illegally who have not committed any other crimes based on the particular individual circumstances. But that conversation has been precluded by the conduct that you celebrate, Cardinal Cupich. Conduct of politicians who you celebrate, like Durbin and Pritzker. You've ended the possibility of that conversation because you don't make distinctions. And we just heard it in that video. Migrant who mugged Streeterville woman gets 4 years in prison. Venezuelan migrant sentenced Monday, meaning illegal, to 4 years in prison for mugging a woman in Streeterville just 3 days after being released from electronic monitoring in another case. Migrant charged with sexually attacking a woman during Rogers Park home invasion, his fifth arrest since June. A Venezuelan migrant, meaning illegal immigrant, who allegedly broke into Northside woman's home, sexually attacked her, and then burglarized her neighbor's house. He's now behind bars, but only after being arrested 5 times since June while on pretrial release. Oh, it's nice when the sanctuary city meets the Safety Act. Isn't that wonderful? There's a 1-2 punch on its own, isn't there? He will also apparently face additional charges for allegedly sexually abusing another woman in Evanston about an hour before he sexually abused the woman in Rogers Park. Which Catholic school should we send him to, Cardinal Cupich? Where should we put him up, Governor Pritzker? Front of the line for legal permanent residency and maybe even citizenship? What do you think? Yeah? Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan. I think the rest of most of these countries just basically emptied out their jails and insane asylums and told them to come to the United States. That's pretty much what's going on here. You got the Blazer talking about, our schools will take your kids. Yeah, so in addition to mind-numbingly high property taxes to pay for these ridiculous, pathetic schools and CPS, the parishioners of any given church are going to have to pay for the illegals going to their schools and get increases in their tuition, which is already pretty high, to pay for the illegals and make sure that they're here doing the work of the church, whatever. It just never ends. I would implore anybody going to a church, when you give money to the church, make sure all those dollars go to your local parish and nothing goes to the archdiocese. Thanks much, man.
Thanks, Greg. And what about Big Shoulders? And a lot of those erstwhile conservative pro-school choice donors to the Big Shoulders Fund. Big Shoulders want to take a stand on this? It'd be nice just for the novelty of it. Don't want to upset the arch. Don't want to cross swords with Cupich. Don't want to demonstrate any level of self-respect. Is that the position of all the Big Shoulders donors? Is that going to be all the talk at next year's golf outing? I mean, seriously, you sit in silence as you watch institutions which you are a part of disintegrate at the hands of the leadership of those institutions, and you say nothing? Do you not care at all about those institutions? You profess to. You support them with your money, but you don't feel like you have a say? How's that? Matt, Mount Greenwood.
Hey, good morning, Dan. As Jesus said, as a practicing Catholic, first of all, I'm happy to tell you that in my parish we have very conservative priests, and they call out Blaise Cupich. And Blaise Cupich is nothing but a leftist. Let's not forget where that guy came from and who he was put put there. Why? But be that as it may, Jesus said, give to Caesar what is Caesar, give to God what is God. The rule of law has to be followed. And Supich has obviously forgotten that.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Mike in Union.
Morning, Dan. That was a wonderful op-ed by Cardinal Supich. Never once has he referred to Scripture, and even Christ himself said, obey those in authority. It's a joke. It's the reason why the Catholic Church is failing. They're on the government dole for supplementing all these things they got. It's a business, Dan. That's what it's come down to. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Mike. Bill, LaSalle County.
Hi. If only Cardinal Supich was as big of an advocate for the sanctity of life regarding Illinois turning into the abortion capital of the United States, and the previous call is exactly right. He doesn't want the money train to stop coming from the federal government to take care of all these migrants.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Text from 847, interesting call to Big Shoulders, a group I always respected. I mean, I respect it, too, to the extent they provide scholarship funds for kids to go to Catholic schools. Of course I respect that, and the donors, and I know a lot of them. But as an organization, you can't go along with everything that the Arch does when they are so afield from the rule of law, decency, the catechism. And, Supich is not too subtly taking a shot at people, Catholics included, who do believe in the rule of law, who believe in legal immigration, who believe everybody should be treated with human dignity. That's not in controversy. Nobody's arguing against that, of course. But also understand the political implications of open borders and sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. I was just mentioning a couple of those stories for all the people running around pretending they occupy some moral high ground on human dignity. What would you like to say to the women in Rogers Park in Evanston who were sexually assaulted by a guy who's been arrested 5 times since June, who is here illegally from Venezuela, and nobody except the federal government, nobody around here, it's only the federal government that seems interested in providing for the safety of women in Evanston and Rogers Park, for example? What would you say to them? Text from 331. I love how the Christian right is so willing to turn their back on immigrants, like Jesus would have done. I mean, that's a real trenchant, passive-aggressive bon mot, isn't it? What did I just say? First of all, I'm a supporter of legal immigration. Secondly, whether you're here legally or not, there is a standard of conduct. There is respect for everyone's individual human dignity. I believe in natural law, and we're all created equal in the eyes of God, and all of those other things. What does that have to do with the rule of law? How is that? How does enforcing the law, providing for public safety, providing a respect for people that are financing the entire system, how does that run afoul of acting the way Jesus would to the stranger? It doesn't. It's a false construct. It's a straw man argument. And you can tell from people like this texter from 331, you can tell the dishonesty of it, just as you can with J.B. Pritzker, when they use phrases like turning your back on immigrants. And again, make no distinction between people who are here legally and people who are not, between people who are here legally and are law-abiding and people who are not and are not. Nice try, though. I bet you thought that was a real novel insight. Nobody's ever heard that case before. That's right off of, one of the placards you saw over the weekend in the No Kings marches. Try an original thought. Juan, Southside.
Hey, 2 points. Yeah, I don't understand how people don't understand. It's just a very simple thing. You got to follow the law. Understand that maybe people are escaping whatever tragedies in their own country, but you got to follow the law. It's very simple. Second, on this Cardinal saying that his schools and stuff won't turn away or turn their backs on these immigrants. My 7-year-old daughter is in the special needs classes at our school in Illinois, and they told us that they're going to start teaching them Spanish. My daughter's having an issue even learning the American English and alphabet, and now you're going to start trying to teach her a foreign language? And
So, Juan, you cut out after you said after you said that she's having trouble with English because she's special needs, and now you're going to try and teach her Spanish. Then you cut out. Oh, I guess we lost Juan. Okay, thanks for the call, Juan. 331 came back at me. You make no distinction between criminals and those who are living honest, hardworking lives. Well, first of all, they broke the law if they're here illegally, so that's not really consistent with the description of being honest. But in terms of people that are otherwise law-abiding and hardworking and all that, which I concede there are many. What did I just say? Actually, I make the distinction all the time. That's a lie. And that's what liars like this texter do. They misstate the position because they make no distinction. So they don't know, that they're a rubber and I'm glue. Yeah, it's real persuasive. You should take that act to the Oxford Union. You're very compelling. Make the distinction all the time. I just made it 5 minutes ago. And it is people like you who don't make distinctions, as you didn't. You provided the evidence for me. That eliminate the possibility of that conversation. We can never get there because you won't distinguish between a citizen and a non-citizen. You won't distinguish between an illegal immigrant who is a criminal and one who is, I should say, a violent criminal, public safety threat, and one who has established, yes, they came here illegally, but they have presented no evidence that they are otherwise a public safety threat. Happy to have conversations on all the nuances of immigration law. But the open borders crowd has made it impossible. And so, as Tom Homan says, right, let me quote Tom Homan, you don't like the law, then go change it. Get in power, run on open borders, run on a pathway to citizenship for everybody here illegally, and move the legislation. Make it the law. Dean in Sarasota.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? First, I want to say that your joke earlier this week where you said Pritzker is all about no kings except when splitting aces, I got a lot of mileage out of that joke this week.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of
I'm glad.
A lot of yucky yucks down here. Now, back to Pritzker and not following the law. He said the quiet part out loud. He told the people at that conference, he said, hey, all of your workers need the blah, blah, blah. These guys shouldn't be working in the first place. If they don't have a work visa, they can't be working. The people that hire them are illegal, and he just sloughs it off like it's settled law that illegal immigrants could come in and work. That's not the case.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks for the call, Dean. Chris on the Dan Ryan.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. Hey, listen, I have two things to say. Obviously, the root cause of this issue is obviously 4 years of open borders. Second off, the 4 years of open borders have created a work group of, I'm not saying slaves, but a work group that is now being taken full advantage of because most employers are honest people. Some employers are going to take advantage of these people, and they're going to just be like, oh, well, I'll hire you for $10 an hour. You get no insurance. Oh, you're sick? You're fired. I'll hire the next person. People don't realize that when you have these people who are undocumented and they are not here legally, that people will take advantage of it and create not a slave mentality, but
a black market economy. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so who does it hurt ultimately? It hurts them. So people don't understand that. So appreciate you taking the call, Dan.
Thanks, Chris. Peter, Crystal Lake.
Yeah. Hi, Dan. Thank you for taking my call. A previous caller said don't send your money to like the diocese or the archdiocese. But the fact is, when you put money in the basket every week, the archdiocese or your diocese takes money out without you knowing. Also, Supage, I must not have ever read Thomas Aquinas. They always like to talk about how, they know about Thomas Aquinas, but they don't seem like they've read him because he's very clear about immigration. It's a very long document, and J.D. Vance is right. It's not like just come by and sit down in another country and just you stay there. So
thanks for the call, Peter. Yeah, Aquinas is so passé. Who needs Aquinas when you have, deep intellects like Dick Durbin who you lean on and look to? Corey Woodlawn.
Morning, Dan. This is all about papering over the debt. But the problem that I see is the state, the Catholic Church, the city of Chicago, they're all acting like a welfare woman from the 1980s. As more kids as they have, the government will give them more money. This is what all of this is about to me. Thanks.
Thanks, Corey. Coming up at 6:06, we'll turn our attention to the Illinois Republican gubernatorial primary, since I've again been slimed by the Tribune. Oh, it must be a day that ends in Y. It is now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Another Russian barrage hits Ukraine. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Hours after President Trump said he's no longer planning another summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin like it was announced last week.
A lot of things are happening on that front, on the war front with Ukraine and Russia, and we'll be notified over the next 2 days as to what we're doing.
As for the new Russian missile and drone attacks,
focused once again on the country's energy infrastructure. In the region around the capital, Kyiv, rescuers found the body of 3 people, including 2 children, in a house set alight in a village. There were other deaths too, including where drone debris hit a 16-story residential building. Today, President Trump is expected to hold talks with the NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte as the alliance continues to work on getting Ukraine more weapons.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. Vice President Vance is in Israel trying to keep a fragile ceasefire for Gaza in place, and he just said while sitting next to that country's president,
there will be torments along the way. It will be difficult, but I feel very optimistic based on my conversation with our Israeli friends and also with our Gulf Arab friends that it's possible that we actually can make peace stick.
Israel has positively identified the 2 dead hostages Hamas has handed over, but 13 others have not yet been returned like the ceasefire calls for. The Louvre reopened today in Paris as the manhunt continues for the thieves who pulled off Sunday's heist.
Hundreds of people lined up as barriers erected after Sunday morning's burglary came down. Those visitors will not be allowed into the jewel-lined Apollo room, where thieves broke in through an outside window, smashed 2 display cases, and stole 8 pieces that had belonged to French royalty.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. It is day 22 of the government shutdown with no end in sight.
The decisions made or not in the next 10 days will determine whether working families can afford their health care next year.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer wants to meet with President Trump, who blames Democrats for the shutdown and says he won't negotiate with them on health care until they agree to fund and reopen the government. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 46 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keen in the AM 560 newsroom. Cloudy and gusty today. Winds reaching 30 miles an hour. High today topping out at 50 degrees. Protesters spoke out about Broadview Mayor Katrina Thompson's executive order limiting protests at the city's ICE facility at a village meeting on Monday night. Fox 32 Chicago's Joni Lum reports.
Protesters say the restrictions limit their free speech. One speaker recorded the viral video of Reverend David Black, who federal agents shot in the head with pepper balls. Protesters say it's why they need to be closer to the ICE processing facility and be present longer than the official protest hours of 9 a.m. through 6 p.m. On Saturday, Illinois State Police physically confronted protesters who did not leave at 6. Speakers said state troopers are perpetuating the violence.
Mayor Katrina Thompson noted that many of the speakers come here to protest, but they don't live in Broadview.
The Trump administration had asked the Supreme Court on Friday to allow National Guard troops to be deployed here in Chicago, which they say are needed to protect ICE agents. And Governor J.B. Pritzker's potential opponents in the 2026 election say that the governor's gambling winnings proved that he's out of touch. Yesterday, Pritzker attended an event that was hosted by the Economic Club of Chicago, where the governor had previously served as a board member. 2022 GOP nominee Darren Bailey said most people just dream of winning over $1 million like Pritzker did playing blackjack in Las Vegas. This news update is quickly delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. For a reliable same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick up your items and move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Quick Delivery Service Incorporated and by Virago. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
If you need custom boxes and crates, expert packing and crating, import-export transloading with heavy lift capability, the DC Group delivers. It all started 51 years ago with DC Export and Domestic Packing, the hard work of founders Dominic and Carol Cochamiglio. Their family's desire to exceed customer expectations, backed by an incredible team and loyal customers, is now driving expansion. From their humble roots in a garage-sized building to 100,000 square feet in the Chicago area, 45,000 in Greenville, and a new Houston facility, they're coast to coast. And their sister company, DC Transport, handles everything from container drayage to super heavy haul loads across North America since 1991. Whether it's packing and crating, transloading, transportation service, or trade shows, the DC Group delivers. Those that attended FabTech 2025, we'd love to hear from you. Get your quote now at dcexport.com. That's dcexport.com, your trusted logistics partner.
Quiet down, here she comes. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is Carol Platt, Liebau for townhall.com. The Supreme Court recently heard a Louisiana case with sweeping implications for how congressional districts are drawn. The issue: does Louisiana's map amount to racial gerrymandering, and are majority-minority districts themselves constitutional? It's hard to argue that dividing Americans by color is anything but discriminatory. These districts were created on the assumption that white voters couldn't, or wouldn't, elect minority candidates or represent minority interests. That may have sounded plausible once, but in post-Obama America, that assumption doesn't hold up. The Roberts Court has rightly embraced the idea of a colorblind constitution, one that forbids the government from sorting people by race. That makes it likely the Supreme Court will strike these majority-minority districts. If so, the balance of power in Congress could shift by somewhere between 19 and 27 new Republican seats. No wonder the left is screaming bloody murder.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose looking real good. It's 14 minutes. Outbound is 13. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange is 18 minutes. No delays on the outbound side, 23 minutes. Now the northbound Tri-State is starting to get a little bit slow between the Reagan Memorial and the Eisenhower. This is all because of traffic on the ramp to get onto the outbound Eisenhower. And on the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 15 minutes. Outbound is 14 14. Looking good on the inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. 22 minutes. Outbound is 16. And no problems on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn interchange. Inbound is 15. Outbound is 11. Now on the inbound side of the Bishop Ford, the exit ramp to get off at 130th Street is closed for construction. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy and cool with intervals of clouds and sun reaching a high of 50. Tonight, skies will clear with the low of 39. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a mix of sunshine and clouds hitting a high of 54. By Friday, it'll be sunny with a high of 56. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, some developments in the Republican race for governor, race for the GOP nomination to face Jelly Belly. I mean, if you're interested in seeing a viable candidate challenge Pritzker come next year, then you should be interested in these developments, paying a little bit of attention. Primary is March 17th. It's not that far away. A late entrance into the race, perhaps, if you can get 5,000 signatures between now and November 3rd, the filing deadline. Gold Rush Gaming's Rick Heidner. This guy is, a very interesting candidate. Interesting timing. Interesting he would choose to run as a Republican since he has given more than $1 million to Democrats. He gave Kim Fox $25,000. He backed Kim Fox in her first campaign for state's attorney. He made a $25,000 donation to BLM Brandon Johnson in May of 2023. He has given to Mike Madigan $61,000 plus. Illinois Senate President, socialist from Oak Park, $10,000. Don Harmon. John Cullerton, former Senate President, $46,000. Illinois State Comptroller Susanna Mendoza. Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart. Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle. Former Cook County Board President Todd Stroger. Former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Former Chicago Mayor Daley. Gave the Illinois Democratic Party $17,500. State legislators. Oh, but he did give the Illinois Republican Party $290 in March of 2024. So, he gives to both sides. That's what you're going to hear as the argument. Yeah. And he gave $450 to the Illinois House Republican organization. I give to both sides. In the 7 figures over here, in the 3 figures over there. But he's a Republican. 11th hour candidate. Very strange. In the gaming business, buying access to put up his video poker machines and other one-armed bandits in municipalities all through the state, really, particularly West Central Cook County. Some of those relationships will be interesting to examine if he makes the race. He's also, as I understand it, is or was in the weed business. Of course he is. He's a combine grifter. This is the kind of guy who John Cass is talking about when he writes about the bipartisan combine that has always persisted in Illinois. I mean, this guy has no nexus to the Republican Party. None. And all of a sudden he wants to jump in and run for governor? Gosh, I wonder who he's fronting for. Did you find that curious? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And his running mate is a friend of mine. I mean, I'm just astounded that she did this. Christina Knightsky, who's the mayor of Homer Glen, who is apparently completely uninterested in her reputation in politics and is totally clueless. No idea what's going on. It's sad, really. It's going to end badly for her. I mean, because of her connection to him. Yeah. Rick Heidner for governor. Catch the fever. I mean, it was one thing, and it cost Bruce Rauner. When Bruce Rauner ran in 2014, and there was details about his donations to Democrats. But it was a lot more even, and even beyond that. But it was a problem. I mean, he almost lost that primary, people forget. And this was a big problem for him politically. If there were better candidates than Kirk Dillard and Bill Brady running against him in that primary, who run better campaigns, he would have lost that primary. So it's an issue, just in case anybody thinks it isn't. I don't know how you couldn't. Somebody, right, millions of dollars to the worst of the neo-Marxist party. Oh, but it's just the cost of doing business in Chicago and Illinois. Well, okay, well then you do your business, and the Republican Party is going to represent doing business a different way. Otherwise, there's no point in having a Republican Party. And furthermore, the Republican Party will not be viable because you're not going to be able to out-grift Rick Heidner and all of his neo-Marxist friends. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And just to finish the point on Rauner, the other difference is at least Rauner had some nexus to the Republican Party and, more importantly, Republican Party issues, a proponent of school choice and other things. Now, of course, he was a disaster as governor. He got led down a primrose path by surrender Republican staffers and his neo-Marxist wife, but and those were his choices, so it's nobody's fault but his own. But, I mean, there was a basis to believe that he could be an outsider who knew the inside game and not beholden to anyone and actually advance the flag for conservative reform ideas. All of his discussions about, being in consultation with Mitch Daniels and Scott Walker and wanting to emulate what they did in Indiana and Wisconsin, respectively. Didn't happen, but it was credible. Rick Heidner, I don't think he's been in conversations with Scott Walker or Mitch Daniels about how to replicate what they did in their respective states. You know what I mean? Why would he do this in the 11th hour? Who are they really fronting for? That's an interesting question. Oh, and by the way, another interesting development, the Rick Heidner, a staffer, a former Bailey staffer named Brett Corrigan, has now flipped from Bailey to Rick Heidner. Why do I bring that up? Because the Chicago Tribune wrote one of their typical pink slime pieces. I mean, it's a pink slime outlet. They love that term so much, they should apply it to themselves. It's a propaganda outlet, especially the political side with transactional reporters like Rick Pearson, who's also a drunk, and Jeremy Gorner, transactional reporters, just flacking for all those people that Rick Heidner donates to. That's what they do. And you remember they and Pritzker whipped up this state board of elections complaint against me after the 2022 election when I ran an independent expenditure PAC that supported Bailey's candidacy against Pritzker and Bailey's candidacy in the primary against Irvin, for that matter. And they had all kinds of overheated rhetoric offered in my direction. And Jelly Belly even weighed in as well, right-wing political operative Dan Proft from Naples, Florida. That's how they characterize me, of course, and still do. J.B. Pritzker, applying his renowned legal acumen, said, well, this looks to be illegal to me, what he, through the Democrat Party apparatus, accused me of doing. And then we actually got into it. Illegal coordination was the allegation because of a draft complaint that was sent to the Bailey campaign that alleged maltreatment of a staffer named Brett Corrigan, and that I got wind of, and so on and so forth. They said, it's a prima facie evidence of illegal coordination, and so they went through this whole rigmarole. And then at the end of the day, since there was no coordination, much less illegal coordination, J.B. Pritzker State Board of Elections voted 7-1 to dismiss the case. There was no there. Never was, because there was never coordination. Well, they resuscitated this now to, again, try to create some chaos within the Republican Party primary with the help of Rick Heidner and whoever's bidding he's doing, so as to run interference for Jelly Belly. So we don't get a viable candidate. So we get somebody like a grifter like Rick Heidner, or we get Darren Bailey again, who is box office poison in the suburbs and cannot win, as he proved, because he does not listen, as he also proved. And he has no sort of sense about running statewide, which he also proved. So this is what they slimed me with yesterday. Let me get to the crux of it. I have to run through so much of them just recycling their previous ad hominem against me is baseless. Part of the issue is this PAC, which was run by Brett Corrigan, that that had a fundraiser featuring Don Jr. a few months ago up in Barrington. Was advertising that was soliciting donations to support congressional candidates. I don't know why anybody believed that, because it's a state PAC. By definition, it can't support federal candidates for federal office. But I digress. And then when Bailey announced he was running, the PAC made a $40,000, $39,500 donation to Bailey for his big announcement extravaganza, party buses and downtown hotels and all that fun stuff. So that was soliciting donations for one purpose and then using it for another, and that got some people upset who had made donations and didn't want to support Bailey. Pretty straightforward. And Brett Corrigan now is with Rick Heidner, as I said before. So he was with Bailey. There was this draft complaint where he was going to sue Bailey, a $750,000 demand where he was going to sue Bailey. Fast forward 3 years, he's running a PAC that he uses to support Bailey, and now he's with Rick Heidner. Follow the bouncing ball. The Tribune is not detailing the allegations contained in the draft lawsuit because it was never filed in court and not verified. And the legal dispute apparently ended in a closed-door resolution between Corrigan and Bailey. The Tribune reported this back in 2022 to insinuate that I was illegally coordinating, and that gave Pritzker and all of Rick Pearson and Jeremy Gorner's friends the opportunity to file this frivolous State Board of Elections complaint against me and then put me through lawfare for a year and a half before I was ultimately vindicated. So this is fast forward. Now that this complaint has been made public, this draft complaint has been made public. So now it's, well, where did this come from? After Corrigan retained Orland Park attorney Scott Casper to pursue a proposed confidential settlement agreement, Proft weighed in, apparently in an effort to quash the filing of a possible lawsuit that could become public ahead of the 2022 general election. This is the Tribune's reporting. Then they filed a complaint, blah, blah, blah. And now this complaint has been made public in connection with the story about the PAC that former Bailey staffer, now Heidner supporter, Brett Corrigan, ran soliciting money under the guise of supporting Republican congressional candidates and then gave it to Bailey. I hope you're following along. I know it's a little bit involved and it's inside baseball, but it's kind of important because it goes to the character of a lot of people here. And it also goes to the amount of credibility you should afford to Chicago Tribune political reporting. Bailey campaign spokeswoman said of this draft complaint being made public, it's Jeannie Ives is once again reprising her role as Democrats' favorite Republican. Jeannie Ives is a sore loser who's been bitter ever since she couldn't even beat Bruce Rauner in a Republican primary. So Jose Durbin is this doofus staffer of Bailey's, and he's one of the reasons that Bailey's campaign was so awful. The only competent support that Bailey received in 2022, in the entire cycle, was from me and my team and the people that I know in politics. I mean, in terms of like actual political operation. Bailey's campaign, if you didn't know, I think you did, was a complete catastrophe. He had no message discipline. He has no professional staff. There's a bunch of goofballs. And more of that will come out to the extent that Bailey continues to make the race. And Aaron Del Mar, as I've discussed before, his running mate is this low-character hack from Palatine who was talking basically in the same verbiage as I am about Bailey's campaign a month ago, and now he's his running mate because any port in a storm for Aaron Del Mar to try to advance his political career, and Bailey's the only one who wanted him. He pitched his wares to Ted Dabrowski. Ted said no thanks. It's inside baseball, but you want to know the machinations? You want to know how this really works? You want to know who's who and who's operating on the level? Well, then you better listen up because I've got the receipts and they don't. On Jeannie Ives had nothing to do with any of this in 2022. That's a lie. Flat out. Just made up. So that speaks to the character of Jose Durbin, who you don't know and you never will. It doesn't matter. But the Bailey campaign. And Darren Bailey. And just also, too, in terms of the competency level, she couldn't even beat Bruce Rauner in a Republican primary. Couldn't even beat Bruce Rauner, a guy worth nearly $1 billion who's an incumbent governor in his own party's primary. That's happened like 3 times in the last, I think, minimum 50 years in the country that an incumbent governor has been defeated in his own party's primary running for re-election. 3 times in more than a half century in the nation. It's an unbelievably big lift, and Jeannie Ives was way underfinanced, got a late start, and we came within 20,000 votes of taking him out. I mean, and not bitter about it. The people should be bitter about it. I'm not bitter about it either. We just point it out. It's just a matter of fact. People that should be bitter about it are Illinois Republicans and Illinois residents generally. Because at least you would have had a candidate who was going to run a race against J.B. Pritzker rather than quit effectively the following summer and just allow Pritzker to walk in a historic margin. Okay. Besides sharing the article and the link on her Facebook page, I've commented on it by writing the Bailey Clown Show and Grift. Well, that's what it is. It's accurate. So now they want to know, well, who leaked the complaint? Who leaked this draft complaint? That's the big question. Not all this other backstory that really is the story, because it speaks to who to believe, who is making sense, who is operating on the level. Scott Casper, who is Corrigan's attorney, it seems like Illinois Republicans attack each other harder than the opposition does. The infighting is a sad testament of the state of the Illinois Republican Party. It's a very fractured party, Scott Casper said. Well, so who leaked the complaint? That's the big story, is it? Well, going back to 2022, I did get wind that there was this alleged complaint that was going to be filed against Bailey. And I was told of sort of generally speaking of the nature of the allegations. And so I reached out to Scott Casper, which I'm perfectly allowed to do. I wasn't working for the Bailey campaign. I wasn't talking to the Bailey campaign. I just use my own, political instincts, which it doesn't take much to say, oh my gosh, the candidate that I'm spending tens of millions of dollars supporting from afar is going to get blindsided or maybe not front-sided by a an allegation from a staffer, I better find out about this because he is so inept. I know the damage control he does will be awful. So I can find out about it independently to try to do damage control or head it off at the pass if possible. I mean, that just makes political sense. So that's what I did. And Scott Casper sent me the complaint. Scott Casper, who's hand-wringing, Brett Corrigan's attorney, hand-wringing about the fractured party and the infighting and so forth. He violated, essentially, he obviated attorney-client privilege when he sent a third party the complaint. He tried to pretend that I had some role with the Bailey campaign, I think to cover his tracks, but I did not. I was never Bailey's lawyer. I don't practice. I have a law degree, but I don't practice law. And in point of fact, the draft complaint that he drafted for Brett Corrigan, Scott Casper, he sent it to Robert G. Coble, who he recognized as the Bailey campaign's attorney. He argues there that I am a de facto representative of the Bailey for Illinois campaign. Well, that's not true. I was not a established or a de facto. I was nothing with respect to the Bailey campaign. And sending it to Bailey's campaign attorney and to Jose Durbin, the treasurer of the campaign and a staffer for Bailey, indicates as such. The reason he folded me in is because my independent expenditure PAC had the money. And in the draft complaint, as you see if you look online, he was demanding $750,000 in settlement from Bailey on behalf of Brett Corrigan to not file the draft complaint. So this was a shakedown. And he thought that I would intercede. I think this is what he thought. This is my view. Pretty logical. I think what he thought is that I would intercede and pay out the $750,000 in the money that I have for my PAC to make it go away. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen and did not happen. And the allegations, you know, all the Brett Corrigan and Scott Casper and all these great protectors of the Illinois Republican Party just trying to unify and bring everybody together. What a bunch of bunk. These are ankle-biting, low-level grifters who Rick Heidner would be embarrassed to even, be in their class under the heading grifter because they're so inept. That's what actually is going down. So when the Tribune story gets passed around, where did it come from? Where did it come from? Scott Casper sent it out to a third party. I wonder if Brett Corrigan knows that. Because the ARDC should. And on that complaint, or in that complaint, I should say, you want to hear some of the assertions? I'm happy to. These guys? Oh, you wanted to keep... Oh, no, let's bring it all out then. And then everybody can have their say. What was true, what wasn't true, who put whom up to what. Not my doing. This is something that Corrigan or Scott Casper cooked up. Okay. And then what? Then it didn't happen because Corrigan was still with Bailey 4 years later? But now he's not? Hey, whatever. Not my business. I'm just reporting the facts. And I've got all the documents. And the email from Scott Casper. Leaked. Oh, who leaked it? Who leaked it? Yeah, right. Here's some of the allegations. I don't know if they're true or not. I'm just reporting what's in Scott Casper's draft complaint. And I don't know where he would have got this information unless he invented it, other than from Brett Corrigan. The Bailey defendants provided Corrigan with a bedroom. However, he was not provided a kitchen or any other privileges at the house. Cindy Bailey, Darren's wife, told Corrigan that they value their privacy and Corrigan was not to go anywhere in the house except directly to his bedroom. The Bailey defendants did not provide Corrigan with food. He scrounged food from campaign events and brought food on the road when he could. On very rare occasions, he was permitted to have dinner with Cindy and Darren. Corrigan served as a personal assistant to the Bailey defendants. He worked 6 or 7 days a week for them, often very long 18-hour days. Corrigan was often expected to rise early and get morning coffee for Cindy Bailey, and often he would be last to go to bed, preparing for the next day's campaign activities. On one occasion, Corrigan left the Bailey house before sunrise to get Cindy her morning coffee. While driving to get coffee, Corrigan received a text message from Cindy with a photo of his unmade bed and instructing him never to again leave the house with his bed unmade. Cindy Bailey told Corrigan that he was on duty for the campaign during the day and he would have to do his schoolwork on his own time, which often was late at night or on days with no campaign events. On one occasion, the Bailey defendants stayed in a hotel suite in which the Bailey defendants slept in the bedroom and Corrigan slept in the adjoining living room. Cindy Bailey instructed Corrigan to use the restroom before they went to sleep, and Corrigan was not permitted to use the restroom again until the next morning. On many occasions, while Corrigan would reside with them, the Bailey defendants would engage in sexual intercourse while Corrigan was in an adjoining room. Senator Bailey would often tell Corrigan to, quote, wear your headphones tonight. Cindy Bailey is in the mood, unquote. On some occasions, Corrigan's witnessed the Baileys argue with each other. Senator Bailey would often comment to Corrigan and others on the campaign who witnessed the arguments that the, quote, the makeup sex is going to be great, unquote. On one occasion, Corrigan and others on the campaign team witnessed a particularly contentious argument between the Baileys, after which Senator Bailey assured the staffers that they're, quote, that they're having, quote, the best sex in 40 years, unquote. The Bailey defendants often spoke with Corrigan about their sexual activities. In one instance, Darren stated that when he was on top of Cindy, she would conceive boys, and when she was on top of him, she would conceive girls. On some occasions, Corrigan would overhear raucous noises in the middle of the night as the Bailey defendants engaged in sexual intercourse. It was not uncommon for Cindy Bailey to cry out, "Governor, Governor," as she climaxed. Shall I go on with this romance novel? You want it all out in the open? Here it is. Now let's check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 46 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Chicago suburb of Harvey has furloughed 69 employees, including police and fire, after the city council voted to designate the city as financially distressed. The Harvey Fire Department told NBC Chicago that at least one of its 3 fire stations will close temporarily as part of those furloughs. City officials say 98 workers would continue working to maintain core operations. Governor J.B. Pritzker may have been a big winner in Las Vegas, but his Republican rivals say the governor's policies are giving Illinois families a losing hand. The GOP candidate spoke at the Center Square on Tuesday after Pritzker said last week that he had won $1.4 million playing blackjack in Las Vegas. Former WirePoint's president Ted Dabrowski said that Pritzker is divorced from the struggles of everyday people here in Illinois. News is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in store today. Each item is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or a check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. A Check the Roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest and Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Nauman and Associates, Scott Tucker Solutions Incorporated, and by Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago.
These days, people who are in pain are taking control of their health and looking beyond traditional medicine. Dan Proft here from my friends at QC Kinetics. People just like you are finding lasting relief without steroids, medications, or surgery here in Chicagoland at QC Kinetics. Here's how it works. Your blood contains tiny but mighty healing tools. At QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli and her team get to the root of where your pain stems and concentrates these natural healing tools in the exact location. By putting these natural elements to work, your body can revitalize joints, literally using your own power to heal. It's a simple injection, not a hospital stay. It's fast, all natural, and there's no downtime. So, if your back, knees, or shoulders are keeping you from enjoying life, call my proud sponsor, QC Kinetics, today and schedule a free consultation with Dr. Caravelli and her team. Call QC Kinetics now, 312-827-6261. Again, that phone number, 312-827-6261, 312-827-6261, and tell them I sent you when you do.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with the team from Access One, the founder and chairman, Mark Joswiak, and vice president, Enzo Scafidi. We're talking about how Access One can help business with their IT challenges. I'm guessing that cybersecurity is a huge concern. And in Access One, does it take different steps? Does it evolve? Is it always monitoring? Is it similar to some of the other entities I see out there that monitor the dark web and all of that?
You name it, we do it. Our biggest focus is cybersecurity. So everything we do is from a security perspective. Every action we take, everything that we put in place is all coming from the vein of security. That's why we do everything. And we have experts on staff that help build and design everything we do for our customers.
If your business needs help with managed IT, cybersecurity, or voice technologies, you need to contact the team at Access One. Learn more at access1inc.com. That's access1inc.com. Or call them directly today at 1-800-804-8333.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters. Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best, better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still in great shape both ways on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. 15 minutes inbound, outbound is 13. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange is 19 minutes, outbound is 26. The Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office is 19 minutes, outbound is 14. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 26, outbound is 16 minutes. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 17 minutes, outbound is 11. Jammed on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive, making your way towards Hollywood Avenue. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole department inside your Macy's store where you can find the latest fall looks, all for under $30. With new arrivals every day, you never know what amazing deals you'll find. Don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy and cool with a mix of clouds and sun. The high will reach 50. Tonight, skies will clear with a low of 39. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a blend of sunshine and clouds and a high of 54. Friday will be sunny with a high of 56. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and many more. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Governor, you have that in your heads now? I sure hope so. You're welcome. Text from the Amish texter. Dan, please read that Darren Bailey sexual escapades piece every morning before breakfast. I need to lose weight. Text from 630. Thomas DeVore was dragging Gene Ash through the mud yesterday on Facebook on this issue. Yeah, Tom DeVore. Right. Another paragon of virtue and legal ethics. His law license is suspended. Guy's a buffoon. And Scott Casper, attorney for Brett Corrigan, who platformed all of these salacious allegations against Darren Bailey and then tried to to graft $750,000 for himself and his client back in 2022, and now he's calling for party unity. Oh, and he's aghast that anyone would disclose something that he disclosed to a third party, this draft complaint. Low level, both in terms of character and competence. The story of the Illinois Republican Party for the better part of the last, I don't know, at least 2.5 decades. And, reading those salacious accusations from that draft complaint, if you think, oh, well, that sort of makes a mockery of Darren Bailey. Yeah, well, you know what? He made a mockery of people who supported him in 2022, the way he conducted himself and ran that campaign without apology. And his self-indulgence continues into this cycle. And it's about time that some people are willing to stand up and draw lines. I pretty much routinely have been, whether you like the lines I draw or not. At least I'm drawing them. And you can decide which side you want to be on. If you want to be opposite my side, fine. But then everybody knows where the lines are, and you can make your own choices as to which side you want to be recorded as having stood. Just since we're talking about campaign finance, I mean, this is a story that is not getting near the reporting that it deserves. Don Harmon, this neo-Marxist from Oak Park, who's the president of the state Senate. Oh, man. This State Board of Elections case is really interesting. I mean, I would normally be cynical of something like the State Board of Elections. I mean, they put me through the Pritzker-sponsored lawfare for much longer than they should have. But ultimately, even they couldn't bring themselves to invent a case that wasn't there, as I was describing before the news. So maybe Don Harmon will actually face the music on this. Don Harmon, he's one of those neo-Marxists that's supported by Rick Heidner. You're a Republican candidate for governor if he can cobble together 5,000 signatures by November 3rd. Brother. Don Harmon, who's an attorney, in addition to being the state Senate president, raised millions and millions of dollars under a false theory of campaign finance limits in Illinois. And it's pretty straightforward, really. He is facing this. I'm reading from the hearing officer's report for the State Board of Elections. As of June 4th of this year, he is facing a penalty of $9.846 million. Here's what he said. You have to, in a governor's race, you have to donate $250,000, self-finance $250,000, and you blow the campaign contribution limits. And then people can donate how much ever they want to you. So candidates do that, both sides. Obviously, Pritzker did it. And so that's the deal, okay? Very simple, bright line. But when you do that, the campaign contribution limits are only off for that race. They're not off in perpetuity. And Don Harmon argued that he blew the campaign contribution limit caps once, and so he could take unlimited money forever. That is just like bright line wrong. So he took upwards, apparently, of $10 million in illegal campaign contributions. And now the State Board of Elections is poised to fine him $9.846 million. There's no way that he satisfies that judgment. But I mean, it is such an obvious and egregious breach of campaign finance. So when these people run around, you know what we need? We need ethics reform, and we need campaign finance reform, and the millionaires and the billionaires and special interests. Oh, they're so terrible. Yeah, right. Tell me more, Don. You better pass the hat at Oak Park Country Club, buddy. No way he can satisfy that judgment. And if he doesn't, the interesting thing now, if he doesn't, what happens? Does this, I mean, is he ever allowed to raise any money again? Because he can't just like close that account and open a new one and say, oh, well, that's that account. And, you know, this is me over here with a different account. The State Board of Elections can let him get away with that. I mean, they shouldn't. Obviously, that would be violative of the spirit of the penalty. Like, does every dollar he raises going forward, is it garnished to pay off this judgment against him, assuming it's imposed? So then he would never raise money again. Who's going to donate if it's just money goes right to the State Board of Elections? Or certainly wouldn't raise the same amount. I mean, does it? I don't think you can pierce the campaign committee and hold him personally liable. And this is the problem with the gooiness of campaign finance law here. It's, you know, it's written to give sort of the pretense of limits and so forth, which, by the way, I disagree with. So it should be very clear. It should be you can raise how much ever you want from whoever you want, and full disclosure, real time, and then people can make their own judgments. That's how it should be. But they create this Byzantine regime of campaign finance laws to give the impression that they're actually trying to regulate the influence of special interest groups. Yeah, right. Talk about a punchline. Are you kidding? Come on. Nobody believes that, but, you know, they keep up pretenses so they have something to point to. I voted for campaign finance reform. Oh, hooray. You're a reformer, just like Don Harmon. $10 million. I mean, I've never heard of something like this. It's astounding. And by the way, if the State Board of Elections punts on this for political reasons, I have a good feeling that there'll be a third party that intercedes to appeal the State Board of Elections decision in federal court. So I don't. This isn't going away. I just wanted to bring people's attention to it because, I mean, it's just, and what's Harmon going to do? Plead ignorance? An attorney who's the state Senate president. Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, right. Nobody told me. You know, you didn't know, and you have nobody around you who knew, so you would just raise millions and millions of dollars that you knew were illegal. Of course he knew. I mean, come on. Doesn't pass the laugh test like most of the behavior of politicians in Illinois. Doesn't pass the laugh test. It's the kind of stuff that only, I don't know, an Oak Park resident would believe. Dan Propp, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
And by the way, if this Don Harmon story I was just telling, I mean, if this had been me with my IE PAC or a real Republican candidate for governor like Dabrowski, can you imagine the coverage of this? In Illinois. Our veterans are our heroes. They answer the call to defend our freedom, putting their lives on the line for our nation. But today, thousands of these brave men and women are facing something no hero should ever face, which is food insecurity. That's where Farm to Veteran comes in. Through the Fulcrum Farm Foundation, this remarkable organization delivers farm-fresh, nutritious food directly to veterans in need through veteran services and organizations. From greenhouse-grown products to greenhouse-grown produce to eggs, they're ensuring our heroes have access to the high-quality food they deserve. But Farm to Veteran can't do it alone. They need your help. Your financial contribution directly supports their mission to feed more veterans across the growing network of partner farms nationwide. There's another way you can make a difference as well. You can join them at their upcoming community services, community events and services. See them in action. Visit farmtoveteran.com today. That's farm2veteran.com to donate or to learn about events near you that you can attend, because those who served our country shouldn't have to wonder where their next meal is coming from. Let's stand for those who stood for us. That's farm2veteran.com.
President Trump has made some pretty amazing claims since he's taken his seat as president. He's delivering on what he promised. On Inauguration Day, Trump's very first declaration was,
"The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish."
Consider this. Since the election, gold has shot up hundreds of dollars per ounce, shattering all-time record highs. Fox Valley Coins does not pretend to know the future, but they do know that if you're buying or selling gold or silver, they are the place to do it. These are some of the top reasons people choose a dealer. You want a national dealer with a local presence you can deal with face-to-face. You want a large selection, the best prices, and great service. You want to walk in with cash and walk out with the best product. You want to deal with legacy dealers with integrity. Whether buying or selling or just one valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your answer for choosing a dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Are you tired of tech headaches slowing your business down? Unique Computing Solutions has been the go-to IT team for businesses in Illinois and Northwest Indiana for nearly 30 years. Your systems should be running smoothly, your data secured, and your communications streamlined. Visit our website today at uniquecomputingsolutions.com. That's uniquecomputingsolutions.com. uniquecomputingsolutions.com. Your IT challenges solved.
Honey, why does it take you so long to get ready?
Because I've got one tiny sink. I'm trying to balance makeup on the back of the toilet, and the mirror's always fogged up.
Sounds like a circus act.
Exactly. And I perform every morning.
At Forever Remodeling, we create bathrooms that fit your life, not the other way around. From extra storage to spa-like showers and timeless finishes, we make your mornings easier. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, he wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan fans' heads spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here. A couple of sports notes. I mean, this young Jets fan, boy, talk about just sort of capturing the mood of the fans of a particular team. This young guy leaving the stadium after the Jets lost to the Panthers this weekend, asking for fan reaction. Somebody asked him for fan reaction. Just listen to this.
Y'all see them and get your thoughts on the game.
I hate this team. I was born into this, and I'm not going to ever... I'm always a Jets fan, but, I hate this team.
That is excellent. He is just so despondent, exasperated about the Jets. Understandable. Sort of how I feel about the White Sox. And Justin Fields, formerly of the Bear, benched too. And I'm rooting for Justin Fields. He's a good Christian guy. But tough sledding these days in Jets fandom, as it usually has been since, about Namath. Maybe some bright spots during the Kenny O'Brien era. Yeah, it's tough to think. I'm trying to think. Boy, it's tough to think of any silver linings there. Will Chamberlain at 7:07. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIP Chicago.
Trying to keep a fragile ceasefire from collapsing. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Vice President Vance is in Israel for a second day.
It's not easy. I never said it was easy. But what I am is optimistic that the ceasefire is going to hold and that we can actually build a better future in the entire Middle East.
He's talked to Israel's president and prime minister, also discussing Gaza's rebuilding and future without Hamas, which did hand over 2 more dead hostages.
New overnight, the remains of 2 Israeli men have been returned home. The exchange including the remains of an 85-year-old man who was abducted from his home during the October 7th attack back in 2023. The bodies of at least 13 people are still awaiting transfer back to Israel. Hamas has said they're having some difficulty finding all of the remains to be returned.
Fox's Mark Meredith. President Trump will meet today with NATO's leader, again discussing helping Ukraine battle Russia, following another missile and drone attack across Ukraine, killing at least 6 people. The president says he's no longer planning a second summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time.
Now, the president will leave for a trip to Asia Friday, and the Senate's Democratic leader Chuck Schumer wants to meet with him before that, as the government shutdown enters week 4. But the president says no, he won't negotiate their health care issues till they vote to fund and reopen the government. Republican Senator Joni Ernst just told Fox Business.
This has been a huge debacle through Schumer's shenanigans. It has got to end.
The world's most visited museum is open to visitors again. The Louvre in Paris, which had been closed in Sunday's infamous burglary.
Astonishing that they were able to do something like that in such a short amount of time with no one really noticing what was going on. Right. So it really was like an ultimate heist in the middle of the day.
Yeah, it almost sounded like a movie.
The manhunt continues in France for the 4 thieves who stole historic jewelry centuries old in a matter of minutes after breaking through a second-floor window. The latest update on Tropical Storm Melissa has it slowly moving in the Caribbean, could grow into a hurricane by tomorrow and threaten Jamaica and Haiti. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 45 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Illinois Democrats are asking the U.S. Supreme Court to deny President Trump's request to allow National Guard deployment in ongoing immigration action here in Chicago. Fox's Jeff Manasso reports.
The state of Illinois and city of Chicago asking the nation's high courts to deny the Trump administration's request to allow the deployment of National Guard troops after a lower court judge here in Chicago temporarily blocked the Guard.
Chicago's going to stand firm. We're going to protect every single Chicagoan with every single tool and with everything that is in me.
Chicago Mayor Democrat Brandon Johnson, President Trump federalized National Guard soldiers, including hundreds from Texas. He says to protect federal immigration enforcement agents and property amid protests and attacks. Jeff Monosso, Fox News.
Meanwhile, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says he is not for open borders and he wants immigration law enforced, just not how the Trump administration is doing it. Greg Bishop has more.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said they're working with local authorities in various states, but not in Illinois.
Governor Pritzker in Illinois is putting his people in danger every day by going against us and not working with us to make sure that we're detaining individuals who have criminal charges against them or have been convicted and then re-releasing them out on the streets.
Tuesday, during a discussion with the Economic Club of Chicago, Pritzker said he doesn't support open borders and wants immigration law enforced, but criticized the Trump administration.
They are breaking all of the protocols and rules that normally apply to police in this country. And we're just sitting back and allowing it to happen is not right.
Trump administration officials say they're enforcing immigration on the streets because of Illinois' migrant sanctuary law.
News is a service of Salem Surround, providing your business with industry-leading digital marketing strategy designed to surround your target audience and drive action. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Aid for Women, Breakthrough Ideas, and by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
Quiet down, here she comes. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Every time I turn around, my friends at Pure Talk give me one more reason to feel good about switching. This month, for instance, they're supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat veterans struggling with PTSD. The result? They're saving lives on both ends of the leash. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. I like being in business with an American wireless company who shares my values. Yeah, I appreciate unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and I bet you will too. But I think you'll really appreciate doing business with a company who gives back to the men and women who volunteered to defend our country. Just dial pound 250, say micro. With Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch in as little as 10 minutes. Again, dial pound 250, say micro, to switch to an American wireless company who actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. On the west side in North Lawndale, Kenzie Avenue is shut down both ways because a truck hit an overpass, and that's between 21st Street and Cermak Road. Now, inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound is 16. The Kennedy inbound getting a little bit busy now. From O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 25 minutes. Outbound is up to 40. The northbound side of the Tri-State slows down between the Reagan Memorial and the Eisenhower, all because of slow traffic on the ramp to the outbound Eisenhower. And on the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 29 minutes. Outbound is 24. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 41 minutes. Outbound 23. And the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 21 minutes. Outbound still looking good at 11. And slow on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive as you make your way towards Hollywood Avenue. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National National Weather Service.
Today will be windy and cool with a mix of clouds and sun. The high will reach 50. Tonight, skies will clear with a low of 39. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a blend of sunshine and clouds and a high of 54. Friday will be sunny with a high of 56. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by HealthQuest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just a postscript on that Jets fan we played at the end of last hour. Poor kid. Text from 815, Mark Gastineau, Joe Klecko, and the New York Sack Exchange. As a recovering Bear fan, I felt for that poor kid. Yeah, no, I agree. I was trying to think on the other side of the ball, Ken O'Brien, Al Toon. I mean, there Freeman McNeil. There have been some flashes, but yeah, the long-suffering Jets fans as perfectly encapsulated by that young guy. I was born into this. I can't get out, but I hate this team. Good stuff. All right, turning to matters legal and political, of course. That decision by the Ninth Circuit that we talked about yesterday, in the decision, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals noted the recent history of violence against the federal law enforcement present in Portland, as well as vandalism of federal property in Portland. This is sort of what we were talking about, what we've been talking about actually for the last couple of days in terms of where this ultimately goes, just based on the reality of the violence directed at federal law enforcement. You would think that it would provide the predicate for the courts to acquiesce to Trump's mobilization of the National Guard, not just that they can be present in a particular state as they are in Oregon and Illinois, but also that they can be mobilized to protect federal property in Portland, to protect federal property and, frankly, ICE agents in suburban Chicago, which has been proposed. In the decision, the appellate court noted the relevant history. They even invoked Chicago in terms of violence. In the days and months leading up to the federalization order at issue here, immigration-related protests and events have occurred at several ICE facilities around the country. While many of these events have been peaceful, others have been violent and even deadly. They note on September 24th, the shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas, in which a detainee was killed and two others were seriously injured. I think actually two ended up dying. September 26th, over 200 protesters blocked access to a gate at an ICE facility in Chicago, and one of the protesters was apprehended with a gun in his possession. Since June of 2025, there have been regular protests at the Lindquist Federal Building, an ICE facility in Portland. Some of these protests have been peaceful, but many have turned violent, and protesters have threatened federal law enforcement officers and the building. DHS was forced to close the facility for more than 3 weeks. On June 8th, protesters placed wood, rocks, a traffic barrier, apparently to impede operations. On June 11th, a man set fire to various materials protesters compiled to barricade a vehicle gate. And other protesters added to the pile of materials, increasing the flames. Protesters then placed a pole against the main lobby entrance. And they go on, just June 14th, June 24th, it's all sorts of not peaceful protesting. And that was the predicate for them to say, yes, ICE, we're lifting the temporary restraining order on ICE being present in Portland, but the TRO on ICE being mobilized to protect that federal building is still pending. And so where does this ultimately go? We've been going back and forth. I got into a bit of a disagreement with University of Chicago law professor Richard Epstein, which is, no small thing. And then we talked to federal prosecutor George Perry from Philadelphia yesterday, who was more inclined to agree with me and the Ninth Circuit that ultimately this is going in the direction of President Trump for the purpose of enforcement of federal law, protecting those who are enforcing federal law, and protecting federal property. It seems to me fairly straightforward. Will Chamberlain predicted this. He's taken a victory lap that the Ninth Circuit would overturn what the district court had imposed, at least in part it did. But again, where does this ultimately go? Will Chamberlain is senior counsel at the Article 3 Project. He joins us now. Will, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So where does it go?
I mean, I think, when this goes to the Supreme Court, I think it's already the Supreme Court in the Illinois case, because the Seventh Circuit didn't agree with the Ninth Circuit. But I think the Supreme Court slaps this all down. I think the basic problem with the way that some of these judges have been looking at the statute is that they haven't been according the proper deference to the president's findings. I think that they haven't done that both as a legal matter. They haven't recognized that they need to have a very, very strong deference to what the president determines in terms of the facts on the ground. And then also, when they've analyzed it themselves, they've been unnecessarily cramped in how they've thought about what's happened on the ground. I think that's what happened in Portland in particular, where the district judge in that case looked at maybe the only 1 week's activity to say, you're not having any trouble enforcing the law. You haven't had any trouble enforcing the law the last week. In the last week, the protests have been peaceful. And the Ninth Circuit said that's way too cramped. That's an arbitrary limitation. If you look at the totality of the circumstances over the last 3 months, it is perfectly reasonable for President Trump to say he's been unable to enforce federal law in the city of Portland with the personnel that he has, and he needs additional support.
Yeah, but ultimately, you think that in the not too distant future, the Supreme Court weighs in and is assuming that they support the president's posture on this, then you will see National Guard deployed to protect the ICE facility in Broadview. You will see them deployed to protect the federal building in downtown Portland.
That's right. I mean, it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary. There's only so many members of the Federal Protective Service, which is the internal law enforcement agency of the DHS, that's there to protect facilities and personnel. There's only 1,000 people nationwide. They've got to protect all the ICE facilities, and they had to send something like 115 to Portland. They got to send a bunch more to Illinois. So, and from what I read in the affidavits in the Oregon case, they're working 12-hour days, 7 days a week. They're absolutely working flat out because they're strained for personnel. And so the obvious solution to that is to bring in more people, and the National Guard are right there.
I want to get your take on another matter, a lot of activity in the legal realm. Yesterday, House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan made a criminal referral on former CIA Director John Brennan. Yeah, a long time in coming, I think, in the estimation of most, myself included. Here's what Jim Jordan said in explaining the basis for his criminal referral on Hannity last night.
Yeah, you're not supposed to lie, Sean, but you're definitely not supposed to lie when you're under oath talking to Congress. And that's exactly what it looks like John Brennan did. He said he wasn't involved with the dossier at all. He said that to us under oath. He said he didn't want it included in the intelligence community assessment, the report that's put together. But then ODNI Director Tulsi Gabbard declassified a report that said just the opposite. In fact, John Brennan put in writing that he felt the dossier should be included in the report. And more importantly, when he was confronted by an individual who works at the CIA, and the individual said, Mr. Brennan, this dossier just doesn't hold up. There's not the underlying intelligence to support it. And Brennan's response was, yeah, but doesn't it ring true? Showing his true color, showing that he was out to get President Trump. So we think he lied. We think it's clear. And I'll be, Sean, I don't do a lot of these. I've done very few referrals. You got to have the evidence to do this. We think it's there. We think it is clear. We appreciate what Tulsi released and declassified that report. And that's why we sent it to the Justice Department. And we'll see what the Attorney General Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Blanche do with it now.
And this is similar to Comey in the sense that he had been lying about this for a while. But what's relevant per the statute of limitations is a appearance before the Judiciary Committee on May 11th of 2023, where he said, and the interview is transcribed in the referral that Jordan made, quoting Brennan, "No, I was not involved in analyzing the dossier at all. I said the first time I actually saw it, it was after the election, and the CIA was not involved at all with the dossier. You can direct that to the FBI and to others." And the additional statement he made was it was their purview, their area, not ours at all, talking about the ICA versus the CIA and the FBI. So this is what Jim Jordan is basing his perjury claim on. What's your review of that?
Sounds pretty cut and dried to me. I mean, there's not really much ambiguity here. If you have a claim in front of Congress that you had nothing to do with it and that you didn't want this dossier included in the investigation, and then there's written evidence that's now been declassified that shows you said literally you were involved in the determination, which means CIA was involved, and you did want it included in the investigation. Okay, so you just lied to Congress. Great. That's a crime. Roger Stone had a SWAT team show up at his door to arrest him for that exact same crime. And moreover, Roger Stone was a private citizen when he engaged the lies. You were the director of the CIA. There's almost nothing more insidious that I can think of in this context than a CIA director lying under oath to Congress, knowing that the truth is classified. That's obnoxious, and I think we shouldn't stand for it. I think it sounds to me like an absolutely righteous prosecution, and I expect that he will be prosecuted.
And on Comey, we've had this development where the federal government is moving to conflict Pat Fitzgerald, his attorney, out of representing him because Pat Fitzgerald was somebody else, according to memos that Comey shared classified information with. And as we discussed a little bit yesterday, it seems this is starting to become a pattern where Comey uses cutouts like the Columbia professor Richmond, like Pat Fitzgerald, to leak classified information and then retains them as attorneys so that privilege attaches. And if that's what he's doing, that's my assertion, that's pretty obnoxious too.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's really bizarre that he's trying to use Fitzgerald as an attorney in this matter. I think he's going to get conflicted out. He's a fact witness. You can't, this is really basic, legal ethics 101. You're not allowed to represent a client when you're going to be a fact witness in the underlying litigation or the underlying criminal prosecution. And it sounds like Fitzgerald's a fact witness because he was one of the people Comey used to leak. And the entire question is whether or not Comey lied about his leaking. So it's bizarre that Comey's trying to use him in this case. But yeah, this is a classic example of what Comey's trying to do. I mean, you're really getting to see the real James Comey, which is a deeply deceitful and snake-like operator, the kind of guy who, publicly puts forward this image of being, upright and upstanding and high integrity, and is using and then engaging in this real skullduggery, leaking aggressively against the administration that he's supposed to serve, using lawyers to do the leaking to prevent anybody from testifying about it. It's really obnoxious.
Speaking of, presenting a false front in public versus conduct in private, Jack Smith, who gave that extended interview to Andrew Weissman, that was a great get by Andrew Weissman, last week at University College in London. Anyway, he went on. He's aghast at Comey's indictment, and the real problem here is the retribution. It's not the prosecution of people in power, and yet we still have this lingering matter that was now brought to light a week or so ago by Republican senators. Jack Smith's obtaining of phone records from sitting Republican members of Congress, mostly senators, but included one Republican congressman. And Ted Cruz also folded in on this. And here's what Ted Cruz, who is a pretty accomplished lawyer in his own right, had to say about what Jack Smith did. And my question to you after hearing this is, what should the Department of Justice's posture be towards Jack Smith?
They issued a subpoena. And my cell phone company is AT&T, and AT&T, to their credit, said, no, we're not going to hand this over. AT&T's based in Texas, and kudos to AT&T. It was the right thing to do to say, we're not giving you those cell phone records. But the Biden DOJ subpoenaed nearly 20% of the Republicans in the United States Senate, their phone records. This was a fishing expedition. It was an abuse of power. This was, and by the way, they launched Arctic Frost, this witch hunt. They launched it 3 days after Donald Trump launched his reelection campaign to be reelected to the presidency. This was all about politics. And Arctic Frost is, I think, the Biden Department of Justice's Watergate. It is pure weaponization going after their political opponents. And I think the Department of Justice, the Biden DOJ, needs to be held to account.
So, Will, I mean, it could be a noxious example of lawfare and a fishing expedition, like Ted Cruz said. But is there anything, at least from what we know, that rises to the possibility of illegality or prompts questions that could ultimately lead to a review of the legality of what Jack Smith did?
That's actually, I don't know. And I don't have anything off the top of my head. Like, intuitively, I suspect that there's not a crime in the conduct described because, if he's issuing a subpoena I'm sure that's a big investigative step. So he probably got approval from above. He's just issuing a subpoena. He's not lying under oath. He's not engaging in sort of, I just don't see, because I can't think of, even when subpoenas get quashed for being unlawful, that doesn't mean that the person who issued the subpoena committed a crime.
So, and he has the power to issue subpoenas, so it's not like he has to make material representations to a judge in order to subpoena those phone records. Yeah,
I think the real way to go after Jack Smith would be to sort of argue that he wasn't properly appointed, kind of along the theory that since he was exercising prosecutorial power of the United States, he needed to be Senate confirmed, and he never was. And so then there's a lot of interesting consequences that can flow from that, where it's like, well, he needs to return his salary to the fisc. All process he issued was unlawful, and he should have known it was unlawful. Maybe there's something there, but I can't think of a crime off the top of my head that I would say, that's what he should be prosecuted for.
And what of the John Bolton case, sort of to close the loop here? I mean, another guy who carried on for many years about the importance of abiding the law when it came to classified documents, and is now facing 18 counts of mishandling classified information. Do you find anything troublesome about that indictment?
No, I mean, that indictment also seems really clear-cut. John Bolton's conduct, if it's as alleged, is brazen. I mean, it seems like from day one that when he joined the administration, he was taking down notes about all his conversations, which included plenty of classified material, and then emailing the contents of those notes to his relatives on an unclassified server. Like, it's a brazen violation of our classification rules. These other people don't get to know about it, and you don't put this information on an AOL email account. I mean, the whole reason they found it apparently was because the NSA or some intelligence agency found John Bolton's notes when they looked at material in the possession of the Iranian government. I mean, what is he doing? And he did all this out of vanity. He put out a book within 3 months of the end of his time as NSA, and it was a 500-page book, well cited, well published. Like, there's a reason he was able to do that, because he was essentially taking contemporaneous notes that included classified information and having his relatives edit it in real time while he was still National Security Advisor. Ridiculously brazen conduct and a flagrant violation of our laws.
He is Will Chamberlain, Senior Counsel at the Article 3 Project. Will, thank you as always.
Thanks for having me.
And Will joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Guys, fall is here, and so are the all-new styles from Untuck It. We make the world's best untucked shirts, and this season's new arrivals are some of our best yet. From soft-brushed flannels to easy, wrinkle-free cotton, every shirt is designed to keep you sharp and comfortable, whether you're layering up for work, weekends, or nights out. Special discounts for first-time customers, so shop now. Get the new arrivals today at untuckit.com and more than 80 stores. Untuck It, shirts designed to be worn untucked.
Here's the tale of the daily Medfill. Same old pharmacy, same old bill, but those prices kept rising higher still.
Till the savings wrangler rode in, cool as can be. Tap GoodRx, saving massively.
No plan? Don't matter none. Up to 80% off. The deals are done.
Discounts hitting harder than Ma's chili. Dang. That one little app does all the rest.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
These days, people who are in pain are taking control of their health and looking beyond traditional medicine. Dan Proft here for my friends at QC Kinetics. People just like you are finding lasting relief without steroids, medications, or surgery here in Chicagoland at QC Kinetics. Here's how it works. Your blood contains tiny but mighty healing tools. At QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli and her team get to the root of your pain and concentrate natural healing tools in the exact location where you're experiencing said pain. By putting these natural elements to work, your body can revitalize joints, literally, using your own power to heal. It's a simple injection, not a hospital stay. It's fast, it's all natural, and there's no downtime. So if your back, knees, or shoulders are keeping you from enjoying life, I want you to explore your options before having surgery. Call my proud sponsor, QC Kinetics, today and schedule a free consultation with Dr. Caravelli and her team. Your first consultation is free, as I said. There's no reason to wait to call because it's free. So call QC Kinetics now at 312-827-6261. 312-827-6261. Again, that number, 312-827-6261, and tell QC Kinetics I sent you when you do.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
AM 560, The Answer.
Another quick note from the sporting world. We're going to find out if there's crying in baseball. There's a new women's professional baseball league that is supposedly coming online. The WPBL, of course, begins play in 2026. There'll be 4 teams just on the coast: New York, Boston, LA, San Francisco. No Chicago. We already have a women's baseball team. It's called the Cubs, don't we? Anyway, don't forget you can watch all the exciting women's professional baseball league action at Babe's Sports Bar in Logan Square, where they only broadcast women's sports. I mean, that is if Babe's is still open next year by the time these games roll around. All right, coming up at 7:37, we'll talk turkey, literally, the cost of Thanksgiving dinner and other matters macroeconomic with the capitalist pig, Jonathan Hoenig, 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 45 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A bipartisan group of elected officials are applauding a new round of state grants to help police crack down on auto thefts and carjackings. Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Giannalis announced more than $11 million in new grants at a press conference earlier this week.
Distribution of these grants has coincided with a gradual drop in vehicle thefts throughout Illinois and a dramatic plummet in the number of carjackings in Chicago.
And the Chicago suburb of Harvey has furloughed 69 employees, including police and fire, after the city council voted to designate the city as financially distressed. The Harvey Fire Department told NBC Chicago that at least one of its 3 fire stations will close temporarily as part of those furloughs. City officials say 98 workers would continue working to maintain core operations. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Well, think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Lutheran Life Communities, Virago, and by Senior Helpers of Naperville.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Introducing your new Dell PC with the Intel Core Ultra processor. It helps you handle a lot, even when your holiday to-do list gets to be a lot. Like organizing your holiday shopping and searching for great holiday deals and customer questions and customers requesting custom things, plus planning the perfect holiday dinner for vegans, vegetarians, pescatarians, and Uncle Mike's carnivore diet. Luckily, you can get a PC with all-day battery life to help you get it all done. That's the power of a Dell PC with Intel inside, backed by Dell's price match guarantee. Get yours today at Dell.com/deals. Terms and conditions apply. See Dell.com for details.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Outbound 57 completely jammed between the Dan Ryan and 99th Street, all because of an accident involving a flipped-over car. You got 2 lanes blocked. On the Dan Ryan, you are slow from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 26 minutes, still looking good outbound at 11 minutes. And northbound Lakeshore Drive, stop-and-go delays as you approach Hollywood Avenue. Inbound Stevenson slows down from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 41 minutes. Outbound is 20. The inbound Eisenhower from Wolf to the old post office is 34 minutes. Outbound is 28. And stop and go delays on the Kennedy. Inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 32 minutes. Outbound 53. This report is sponsored by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy and cool with intervals of clouds and sun reaching a high of 50. Tonight, skies will clear with a low of 39. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a mix of sunshine and clouds hitting a high of 54. By Friday, it'll be sunny with a high of 56. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and John Furner is the CEO of Walmart. He went on with Clinton Foundation donor Zero. You know him as George Stephanopoulos. Trump still sore at Stephanopoulos' treatment of VP Vance, but Vance handled himself well. It's all good. I mean, you just have to know what you're dealing with. Why even bother with George Stephanopoulos? It's like me talking to the Tribune. I don't, because what's the point? He's fortunately, like Trump and Vance, I have my own platform. I don't need to indulge those creatures of the D.C. press corps doing the bidding of the forces of stagnation and darkness. Anyway, back to Walmart CEO John Furner. He did indulge the forces of stagnation and darkness by appearing on Stephanopoulos' show, but it was funny because he said I had to correct the record. What are we going to do? What's Thanksgiving dinner going to look like with these rising prices? Well, they're not rising, at least not at Walmart. Furner was happy to inform Georgie.
I want to talk about a couple things with the Thanksgiving basket. First, we started putting together this idea of having the entire basket easy to purchase, easy to assemble back in 2022. And this year, we will have the best prices on this basket we've had since the program started. We're down about 25% from last year, down about $14 for the basket, which puts us in a position where this basket is just under $4 a person when serving 10 people. So we have a great basket that has a mix of our great brands, like Butterball turkeys. Our turkey prices, George, are all the way back to what they were in 2019 at 97 cents a pound. So we're really excited about the progress. I was really impressed when the team brought me this. It was better than I expected. So we're looking forward to a great holiday season, and we want to help people celebrate any way they want and do it at a great Walmart price.
How about that? If I had 9 friends, I'd go get that Walmart Thanksgiving food turkey basket, and $4 a head. That's pretty good. Jonathan Honig joins us now. He is the founding member of the Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, which is why they call him the Capitalist Pig. He's also a Fox News contributor and co-publisher of Can You Really Love a Dog? Leonard Peikoff and Ayn Rand on pets. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Always appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Great to be with you.
Hey, how about that? I know that people are still feeling the price hikes at the grocery store, but at least for Thanksgiving dinner at Walmart, some good news.
Yeah, Walmart's getting out ahead of it, and they're smart because they know, Dan, people have been feeling higher prices. Tax Foundation had an interesting statistic out this month. The average household is feeling about $1,300 a year from the tariffs. So Walmart's getting out ahead of it, and it almost reminds me a little bit of what Costco does with the hot dogs. Like they keep the hot dog at, $1.50 or $1.25. So, I applaud Walmart. Companies are doing the best they can to keep prices down, but unfortunately, they're paying higher prices for all those imported goods.
The purchasing power, not to mention, the purchasing power of the dollar continues to get diluted because of profligate spending. How are you dealing with the, now in its third week, the quote-unquote government shutdown? Are you okay?
Dan, I'm doing okay. And interestingly, Wall Street's doing very well. You know, Apple hit a new all-time high yesterday. The Dow is just off of its all-time high. And the fact is that the economy grows from Wall Street, not from Washington, D.C. So the fact that Washington shut down, but when great American companies start shutting down, then I'll start to worry. But they soldier on despite all the challenges and all the heartaches and all the difficulties. So, never bet against this great country, Dan. We've talked about that time and time again. And certainly the government shutting down, it's frustrating, I know, for those many government workers, but for the American economy, it soldiers on.
Now, I just want to revisit this. I've visited it with experts in the arena like yourself many times over the last couple of years, but just in terms of kicking the tires of this market that just continues to go up at a 45-degree angle, something that can't go on forever won't kind of thing. The other prices that are coming down are prices for commercial real estate. And they're coming down precipitously, not in a good way, in terms of ROI, in terms of commercial real estate holders returning the keys to the bank, those sorts of things, selling for pennies on the dollar that they were bought for, some of these buildings just a few years earlier. And one wonders, as some wags have suggested, is there a commercial real estate crash yet to come that could drag the stock market down with it, and that maybe banks are hiding effectively at present? What is your sense of that?
Well, Dan, just having been in markets for over 25 years, right now I'm channeling my old high school hockey coach, Coach Schager, who once said that a good defense is your best offense. And I think your point is very well taken. Stocks are up, but they're not cheap by any means. They're trading at very historically high valuations. And you're right. Going back even to the pandemic era with those ultra low interest rates, there was a lot of real estate bought at very, very high prices. The chickens could be coming home to roost. So I'm advising my clients over at CapitalistPig.com is a truly diversified portfolio. Yes, some stocks, but also bonds, cash, commodities. Gold is just off of its all-time high, but really build a durable portfolio because, Dan, no matter whether you're a fan of the president or not, we're going to see volatility. It's inherent in the game. And we haven't seen too much of it so far during President Trump's first term. But I think in 2026, you'll probably see a lot more to come, especially as unrest in the Middle East. The peace deal lasted, all of 25 minutes maybe? I don't even know if it lasted that long. So there's going to be more geopolitical unrest. And again, I think it's a great opportunity to get those credit card bills paid down, get a 6 months worth of living expenses in the bank. If you can just accomplish that, Dan, you're better off than 95% of most Americans.
Chickens coming home to roost. Very good Jeremiah Wright impersonation that you do. Now, on the flip side of that, what I just said about commercial real estate, we saw, I think CNBC was reporting this morning, 81% increase in individuals and entities interested in refinancing as interest rates have come down a little bit, and so that could be good news both for homeowners as well as for corporate entities that need to relieve the cost of the debt they're holding.
And the government itself. Yeah, Dan, it's almost a good news, bad news thing. We've seen the stock market go up, but at the same time, we're seeing interest rates go down and oil prices go down. Now, there's no perfect system, but oftentimes those tend to be correlated with a slowing economy. And we know that there's some indications on the job front that the job market is slowing as well. That's been quite tight for quite some time. So, the winds are shifting, Dan. I think the era of the AI play is probably nearing its not ninth inning, but maybe seventh or eighth inning. We're seeing still a lot of interest in that. And, it's very much like the 1990s. Back then we knew that the internet was going to change our lives. And you're seeing that very much with corporations now. They're integrating this new technology. Whether or not it's going to be profitable, who will be the winners and losers, that's to be determined, which is why, again, I think it was a great time to kind of batten down the hatches, if you will, be prepared for some volatility, but don't jump out of great growth companies and great investment opportunities in still the freest country on earth.
You're a libertarian, so you're a hard money guy. So are you also suggesting, stick with gold and silver for now, too?
not just gold and silver, Dan, but actually, and again, you want to do your own personal due diligence, talk with a financial advisor, but over at Capital SIG, actually, we've got our customers in platinum. Ticker symbol on that one is PPLT. Again, do your own due diligence. But, platinum, if it was going to reach its all-time high, still has to about double from where it is. It hasn't even reached its all-time high. And it's got a lot of uses, Dan, in catalytic converters. What is that? Those are cars that are not EVs. So one way in which Washington is meeting Wall Street is that the secession of all those EV giveaways has put a little bit of a bid in the price of platinum and palladium, because those are used in good old-fashioned gas-guzzling catalytic converter or having cars. So PPLT is one I like. Again, do your own due diligence, but in terms of the long-term returns, I think you could make some money in platinum.
Well, not to mention all the catalytic converters that are stolen in the city of Chicago, so that helps to bump up the price too, right?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, they're valuable. They really are.
Clearly. So, were you at the Economic Club of Chicago yesterday for the big J.B. Pritzker interview? You're a potentate in town. Did you attend that?
No, I was not at the Economic Club, but I seem to see Governor Pritzker everywhere these days. He's really making a run for it. This is going to be an interesting election season as Illinois governor takes center stage.
Yeah, when he sits around the state, he literally sits around the state. So all the rent seekers were there. I'm sorry you weren't, but this is what J.B. Pritzker had to say, though, trying to distinguish himself from Brandon Johnson. We finally found a difference of opinion between the two of them. We know it's not with respect to law enforcement or border security, but it is with respect to the corporate head tax that BLM Brandon proposed to raise $100 million to pay off violence interrupters and storefront preachers to help him get reelected. I don't think he put it quite that way, but that's what he's doing. This is what Pritzker said about it.
I am absolutely foursquare opposed to a head tax for the city of Chicago.
That message resonating with business leaders.
It penalizes the very thing that we want, which is we want more employment in the city of Chicago. And it makes it very hard to attract companies from outside of Chicago to come into Chicago, and harder for companies that are in Chicago to stay.
I'm real impressed with his understanding of his Economics 101 understanding, and that was Craig Wall reporting for ABC7, by the way, credit where credit's due. So that's real nice. But then I guess my follow-up would be, wait, aren't you the guy who wanted to graduate the state income tax? And don't we want more people working? And so you lower the cost of working to generate more work, thus productivity, thus jobs. I mean, so doesn't his head tax argument apply to other things where he doesn't use the same logic?
Of course, all of those taxes, and it's tragic, Dan, how unfriendly certainly the state of Illinois, and in particular the city of Chicago, has become to those businesses, big and small. A lot of restaurants in my neighborhood, these mom and pop joints, Korean, Thai, like wonderful family-owned businesses. One day they're there, now one day they're not. And you know what? For them, for your listeners, I know a lot of small business people who are listeners, an extra 1%, 2%, that might be their entire profit margin for that period, for that quarter. So, Pritzker's got to get some religion here. If he wants to bring businesses back, he needs to make this city and this country, this state, much more hospitable to business, because he's right. They're the ones that create the wealth. They're the ones that create the jobs, not government. It's the private businesses that does it, and that's what we need more of.
Well, also, too, to be honest, right, the corporate head tax would apply to businesses with more than 100 employees. So for most businesses in the city of Chicago and elsewhere, obviously I'm an opponent of it, but for most businesses in Chicago or elsewhere, what would really be meaningful is tax relief at the state level in terms of corporate, individual, property taxes. Reforming those taxes structurally downward is the only way they're going to, see real benefit.
Tax something less, you get more of it. Tax something more, you get less of it. You're taxing employment. Don't we want more employment? Every new person you employ, well, there's another tax to pay. It seems just about the most ass-backward idea of raising revenue I can imagine, taxing exactly what you're trying to promote, more jobs in this state and more jobs in the city.
Jonathan Hoenig is the founding member of the Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, Fox News contributor, publisher of Can You Really Love a Dog? Leonard Peikoff and Ayn Rand on Pets. Jonathan Hoenig, thanks as always.
Great to be with you, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and he did on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Let me tell you about a proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer, Access One IT Services and Support. Chicago business owners, listen up. Your phone, internet, and IT should work well 24/7. But when it doesn't, who are you calling? An overseas help desk? Don't do that. If you want clear, reliable local experts, consider Chicago's best, Access One. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. Whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One has you covered. Access One is a Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serves thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore and everywhere in between. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and trusted by law firms, clinics, tech startups, manufacturers, and many more. If you're in business, make sure your IT works well every day. Start a conversation about your business needs today by calling Access One at 1-800-804-8333 or visit them at accessoneinc.com. That's access, the number one spelled out, O-N-E, accessoneinc.com, and tell them Dan Proft at AM 560 sent you.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer.
The Lutheran Life Communities Foundation supports spiritual care at our 4 retirement communities. Our full-time chaplains provide Christian support as older people journey through the aging process. Through assisted living, memory care, nursing, and rehab, our chaplains walk the path with your loved ones. Please support our 130-year mission with your offering today. Visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org. Find out how you can help.
As the seasons change, so does the worry. The flu, cold, and COVID season is coming, making a lot of people feel anxious. But what if you don't have to feel that way? My name is Dr. Michael Huber, one of the developers of Virago, the liquid immune enhancement cocktail. Virago was formulated in a liquid to enhance absorption and provide a rapid response. Comprised of 23 natural ingredients chosen for their synergistic properties, it gives your immune system the boost it needs to fight whatever virus is out there. So with the Virago Boost, you can face the coming flu season feeling confident that you are protected. With Virago, you're not fighting the seasons, you're ready for them. Virago, power to defend. Maha starts with Virago.
Order your bottle of Virago online today. Visit myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. That's myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE. Virago and Maha. Making America healthy again.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft here. You know that no one likes amateur honky boomer folk music more than me. I think I've established that. So, I really enjoy the No Kings rallies around the country because we saw a lot of that. But none better this week than from Dumb and Dumber star Jeff Daniels, who serenaded Nicole Wallace on the set of MSNBC with this original work. Now, this is a song that he wrote that helps him cope with this crazy world in which we live. Goes a little something like this.
This is a song I wrote called Crazy World, which is how I cope.
Okay, let's hear it.
I've seen a young girl smiling at something he just said. I watched him fall into her pretty green eyes. His cheeks turned Valentine red. I've seen an old man walking with his wife by his side. I watched him reach down, take her hand. Damned if I didn't cry. This crazy world's gone crazy. Who am I to judge? It's nice to know in a world full of hate, there's someone out there still making love.
You want to hear a second verse? Sure you do.
I've seen a dog's tail wagging. I've seen a grandchild run. I've sung along to a day breaking dawn and 100,000 setting suns. I've seen a door held open. I've seen strangers shaking hands. I've seen a kiss from that old flame she missed last a little longer than planned. This crazy world's gone crazy.
Feel free to sing along.
Who am I to judge? It's nice to know in a world full of hate, there's someone out there still making love.
Woody Guthrie's got nothing on this guy, huh? You want to hear the third verse? Of course you do.
I've seen a prayer get answered. I've seen a bride in June. I'm proud to say I've seen the Milky Way winking at the man in the moon. I've seen a dozen roses. I've seen a heart on a sleeve. I've seen enough to know what I know what I still believe. This crazy world's gone crazy. Who am I to judge? It's nice to know in a world full of hate, there's someone out there. There's someone out there. There's someone out there.
Close it out.
We needed that. We all needed that.
We so did, Nicole. We so did need that. Dumb and Dumber meets Crazy Heart. Wow. That's one of those Go Call Your Mom songs, right? We'll see if we can rustle up some more Jeff Daniels stylings in the 8 o'clock hour. But first, at 8:08, psychology professor Chris Ferguson from Stetson University on a theory about gender dysphoria that has been disproven, he argues. It is now 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock at 8560 WIND.
The government shutdown is now in its fourth week. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and President Trump keeps blaming Democrats.
They're doing this because they have Trump derangement syndrome.
He says he would meet with them and negotiate on their health care concerns, but...
I set one little caveat. I will only meet if they let the country open.
The Senate's Democratic leader Chuck Schumer demands their provisions be included in funding that would open the government.
As 20 million Americans face the prospect of paying thousands and thousands more each year for health insurance.
Now, the shutdown has furloughed federal employees who aren't being paid. Workers deemed essential have to keep working are also not getting checks, but many more people could be affected soon.
The federally funded Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, serves about 42 million low-income Americans, and several states say they will be forced to suspend benefits on November 1st if the government shutdown continues. SNAP is often referred to as food stamps, and its benefits are used like cash to buy food.
That's Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Back to the Senate. A Democrat has pulled an all-nighter, and Jeff Merkley has been speaking and still going since 6 o'clock last night.
We're in the most perilous moment, the biggest threat to our republic since the Civil War. President Trump is shredding our Constitution.
Now, later today, the president will meet with NATO's leader on continuing to arm and help Ukraine battle Russia, which launched another deadly missile and drone attack across Ukraine the day after the president called off a second planned summit with Russia's leader, saying he doesn't want a waste of time meeting. Vice President Vance is in Israel a second day, saying he's optimistic the Gaza ceasefire will hold despite violations.
What it could allow is an alliance structure in the Middle East that perseveres, that endures, and that allows the good people in this region of the world to step up and take ownership of their own backyard.
Israel has identified the 2 additional bodies Hamas handed over as dead hostages. There are still 13 not returned yet. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 45 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Illinois legislators could come back to Springfield next week and advance measures to enhance the state's migrant sanctuary practices. Last week, a Cook County judge ordered that Immigration and Customs Enforcement could not conduct enforcement activities at the county courthouse. Now, after that ruling, Governor J.B. Pritzker praised the move, but said that there are still some challenges to enhancing the state's sanctuary practices.
We may be able to make tweaks to the law to protect people better in the state. Although, as you know, I think we've done a pretty good job of Trump-proofing the state as best we could.
Republican State Representative Patrick Sheehan, who's also a law enforcement officer, said the state's migrant sanctuary practices need to be repealed, not enhanced. He said it's causing confusion among local police. News is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off any service, including inspections, or take advantage of limited-time federal rebates on a new furnace. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at air-rite.com. Again, that's air-rite.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
It may have been easier to book a room at a Hilton this summer. The hotel giant says occupancy declined in the quarter, though its profit and revenue rose anyway, and the stock is up more than 2%. Hilton sees lower interest rates, less regulations, significant investment, and certainty on taxes in coming months, which it predicts will result in more demand for travel. AT&T shares are up nearly 3%. It made a profit in the quarter after losing money in the summer quarter a year ago. AT&T was helped by the sale of its remaining stake in DirecTV. An independent cybersecurity group says the hack of Jaguar Land Rover that shut down factories for weeks cost the British economy an estimated $2.5 billion. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
Catch more money with leading economist Steve Moore.
I'm excited about America. I think things are going really well. I think we've turned a corner here. I think Biden economics is well behind us now. This is a miracle what's going on here. If anything, it's better than I thought it would be. So many good things happening in the economy. Low inflation, low unemployment rate, consumer confidence up, business confidence up. All of the indicators are pointing north right now.
It's More Money, Saturday at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
MyPillow is excited to announce they're having their biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. My Slippers, only $39.98. Any color, any style. Regular $149.98. Now only $39.98. That's a $110 savings. Once they're gone for good. My Towels are finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. $17.98. And for the first and only time, get their limited edition premium MyPillows made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you'll receive free shipping plus $100 in free digital gifts. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Quiet down, here she comes. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. What a mess on the outbound side of 57, completely jammed between the Dan Ryan and 99th Street. An accident involving a flipped over car. 3 lanes are closed. That means only the shoulder is getting by right now. On the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 32 minutes. Outbound is 18. The inbound Stevenson is also completely jammed from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Over an hour, 67 minutes. Outbound is 25, and northbound on Lakeshore Drive, stop and go delays approaching Hollywood Avenue. Inbound Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 18, outbound getting slow at 28. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 42 minutes, outbound is 46. The Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 38 minutes, outbound 36 minutes. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy and cool with a mix of clouds and sun. The high will reach 50. Tonight, skies will clear with a low of 39. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a blend of sunshine and clouds and a high of 54. Friday will be sunny with a high of 56. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Betty Yee is a former statewide official in California. She was the controller. She's also running for governor. She went on Piers Morgan's show because mashed potato lady Katie Porter won't answer questions. Piers Morgan was sure to make reference to that. And he got into the question of men playing women's sports. You know, the Olympics are coming to L.A., so it's not an inconsequential question. And Piers Morgan is a California resident, so he wants to hear from those running to be the next governor, wants to hear their positions on the issue. Betty Yee may answer questions unlike Katie Porter, but she's not great at it.
Out of interest, Betty Yee, what is your view of trans athletes in women's sport?
Well, I think I always want to be sure that we are being inclusive in sports. And so I think there are ways to still have them participate in sports and try to quell, just some of the controversy around it. I think everyone has an opportunity to participate in sports.
Right. That wasn't really the question. It's whether you think trans athletes should compete in women's sport.
Well, I think we need to learn more about just how we can enable them to participate. look, everyone is competing in a sport, and they come with abilities, and perhaps there could be, kind of a different league for them, or we can look at just ways not to exclude them, but I do want them to be able to have that same opportunity to participate.
Well, everybody wants trans athletes to be able to participate in sport. The issue is whether they should be allowed to compete in women's sport against actual women who are biological females, who obviously have a inferior physiology in the main in terms of lung capacity, muscle mass, and so on. Do you think that would be right?
They are now part of, they have been through a transition, a physical transition, and I do believe that they should be able to participate with other female athletes.
Wow, well, you've got the Olympics coming to California, to LA. So are you suggesting that you would allow trans athletes to compete in women's sport in the Olympics if you were governor?
Well, I think there's still a lot of discussion that needs to happen. I think there's a lot of information we need to learn about what's really happening with the ability of trans athletes to compete. But my statement is about being able to be sure that they can compete. And right now,
but my question is whether you think they should compete in women's sport in the Olympics, because it's coming to LA, so it's relevant.
I think transgender female athletes are women athletes.
Okay, we finally got. It's laborious, isn't it? We finally got to it. She hasn't given this a lot of thought because she went from a separate league to trans women are the same as biological women. And then she wants to go even further. This was painstaking for Piers Morgan to pull this out of her. But he eventually got there. By the way, another question for her is this whole we don't know how trans men will perform, men who are trans women will perform against women. Well, we do know. And we also know how they were performing against men. I mean, name me a male athlete who was dominant or even competitive in their sport that transitioned and played women's sports. Right. But in terms of the Olympics, Piers Morgan pressed the issue, and ultimately we got to a very different place than even she stopped there.
But it seems to me like you would like to remove any sexual differentiation between the Olympic sports and let them all compete. It would be gender neutral, would it, if you were governor?
Well, I want to be sure that everyone has the ability to compete.
Right, but would you have a gender neutral Olympics where you would have you wouldn't have male and female sport then? You just have one that everyone could join in.
Well, I don't think we're going to get that tomorrow, but I think it's a conversation worth having.
You think it's a conversation worth having where you have gender neutral Olympics?
Because we need to understand what the attributes are of athletes across the spectrum.
But you've already said that you understand the reason they separate the sexes is that men have a physical advantage over women. That is why we separate the sexes in the Olympics.
In some sports, I believe so.
Tell me a sport where it would have no impact.
I do believe that women are equipped to break records in track and field, and some
Tell
other
me one
sports as
track
well.
and field event where a woman would beat a man in the Olympics.
Well, in
fact, let me make it easier. Tell me a single track and field event in the Olympics where a woman would qualify for any of the finals.
Well, I would think that in some of the in the short course, track events. Potentially.
What do you mean? Like how long?
It's not going to be the long races, but the shorter races.
What 100 meters, 200 meters?
Could be 100 meter, sure.
You think, I'm sorry to Betty, but given that obviously I got you on because Katie Porter wouldn't answer questions, you genuinely think that we should have a gender neutral 100 meters in the Olympics when it comes to California?
What I am saying is I don't know that we know fully. We know fully.
But why do you think we do know fully, because we know that women's 100 meter records compared to men's show that men are much, much faster over 100 meters than women. That's why we separate the sexes. Same with 200 meters, same with 400 meters, same with 5,000 meters, same with 800 meters, same with 10,000 meters. That is why we separate the sexes. If you had men and women competing in the same Olympic track and field events, women would never win a medal again. How do you not know that?
Well, let me just say this. I think we can all agree that we want people to have equal opportunity to participate. I don't know that we know, frankly, just with transgender people participating in athletics, really how they would fare in competition. So I would like to be able to see full participation. And if it means having to put transgender people in a different type of division to see how they perform, we would do that.
I mean, there are people that are running for high office like Betty Yee, who, as I said, is a statewide official, or was, in California. She's all over the place, arguing with herself as Piers Morgan just, breaks her down like any grade schooler could do over the ridiculousness of her position. She went from a separate league to their female athletes, men pretending to be women, or female athletes, to let's have a gender-neutral Olympics. I mean, the only way imagine Usain Bolt running against women. The only way a woman would qualify the finals in the 100-meter in the Olympics is if Usain Bolt put her on his shoulders. Of course, everybody knows this. And then she ends going back to a separate league. This gender ideology, if you didn't understand how lobotomizing it is, I hope Betty Yee has persuaded you. For more on the topic, not specifically this, but the news out last week that we discussed about the decline in identification as trans going on among Gen Z, perhaps some of the social contagion is wearing off. Pleased to be joined by Chris Ferguson, professor of psychology at Stetson University in Florida, author of Catastrophe, The Psychology of Why Good People Make Bad Situations Worse. You can also get his writings at grimoiremanor.substack.com. Professor Ferguson, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning. It's always great to be on.
Thanks for joining us again. That was quite a tour de force from Betty Yee, wasn't it?
That was both funny and difficult to listen to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wonderful. So one of the things that you wrote about recently is there was this thesis about social media and its impact on young people identifying as trans, like basically that they were that they were directly proportional. That as you use more social media, there was a higher likelihood that you would identify as trans, and that is been perhaps debunked with the news out last week about declining rates of trans identification.
Yeah, that does seem to be where things are headed. So, what happened basically is in the 2010s, we saw this, pretty well documented rise of young people, whether they're teenagers or young adults, identifying either as trans or non-binary. And that continued, through, somewhere around 2020, 2021. And Eric Kaufman has been crunching the numbers more recently. And, it's made kind of headlines last week. It seems like those numbers are now coming down. There are less individuals who are identifying as non-binary, a pretty significant decline over time. And I think one of the things that got missed, that Kaufman pointed out, he kind of tried to tease apart, why this may be happening. And he kind of talked about, mental health is improving in young people, and that is probably one part of the picture here. But he also pointed out that, access to social media, the time that kids are spending on social media has not really changed. So kids are still using as much, if not more, social media than they have beforehand. So even though that particular variable has not changed, we're seeing these, non-binary, identifications coming down. So it's suggesting, along with some other data that also come out recently, it's suggesting that, there probably is some kind of, social transmission that's going on, or social incentive, but it doesn't seem to be coming primarily from social media, as a lot of people worried about in the 2010s.
Yeah, it's more, I'm fond of saying that what a society extols, it begets. So it's more just the celebratory atmosphere around the whole thing, and it's not limited to social media. Social media is just one aspect of the transmission of cultural norms, but it's just one channel, or a couple, or one form of a channel. There are many other channels too, and the same things are going on, not to mention institutional celebration, like in government K through 12 school systems.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, a situation was set up where there were both, incentives and disincentives. So, I mean, the exchange we just listened to, I think, kind of points to that disincentive, right? People weren't allowed to challenge. If someone said that they were trans, you couldn't ask them to prove it, in any, meaningful way. And I think that's where you hear the tension in that interview is, someone who knows what they're saying maybe doesn't make a lot of sense, but on the same point, feel like they're going to get in trouble if they, don't kind of, toe the party line, if you will, for a little bit. And so I think you ended up in a situation where, for young people, if they came out with, they, them pronouns or identified as trans, nobody could question them, and they were treated as heroes, and you're so brave. And so there were a lot of these incentives that were in place. And at the same point, there were a lot of disincentives. So if you were an adult or a teacher or a physician, you were not allowed to say, well, this individual was born male and he's using they, them pronouns. He, dyed his hair pink, whatever. But he's still dating women, and he's still basically living a pretty guyish life. So maybe this is kind of, just a bad, for this individual, or at least. And I think it was just very difficult to point out that, maybe for some of these individuals, identifying as non-binary or trans really does help them live some authentic lives. But for other individuals, they might have had mental health issues, or maybe, they were just, a straight dude trying to get with the girls in the gender studies class, kind of a thing. It really wasn't, it really wasn't an authentic, portrayal. And I think it's okay to kind of
or maybe they were trying to get on the medal stand in college swimming meets.
Yeah, I mean, there was that aspect of this too. I mean, we did see at least some biological male athletes who did not do particularly well, in male sports, then switch over to female sports, and then shatter records and all this kinds of stuff. And for a while there was a sense of if this person says that they're a woman, then nobody's allowed to challenge that. And personally, I'm okay using people's pronouns and that sort of stuff, but when it comes down to, women are not going to be able to, compete in their own sports, or at least not win in their own sports, or they may be injured because there's a biological male who has a bigger body, bigger bones, and that kinds of stuff. And I think that creates a lot of problems. And I think those problems became pretty obvious. And eventually you can kind of stop people from talking for a while with these disincentives, but if you're really required to say things that are just not true, that becomes very difficult for people for long periods of time.
I also think that detransitioners who have come forward and spoken about the mistake they feel they now made, and why and how they were led down, a primrose path, so to speak, like Chloe Cole, have been impactful too. I know there's been an assiduous effort by the legacy media to ignore them, but it gets out and around, and there's some real horror stories, tragic stories, and sympathetic people who are trying to be helpful and say, don't make the same mistakes that I made, think this through a little bit more, and so on and so forth. And that's impactful too.
Yeah, and that's exactly true. And and there was a situation where we were told all over and over to listen to people's voices, and on the other hand, we weren't allowed to listen to their voices, and they're part of the puzzle too, and I think that there's been more information that's come to light, about that. And again, I think I'm open to the idea that maybe some individuals who do benefit from some kind of social or medical transition, but there are a lot of individuals who don't, necessarily benefit from that as well. And being able to distinguish between those groups of individuals, by some kind of rigorous psychological evaluation, it shouldn't be that controversial, but it was really controversial to say something like that, 5 years ago. But I think we're moving out of that period at this point.
Well, and also too, I mean, there should be, at minimum, there should be a bright line between adults and children. I mean, that's been the biggest issue that's been fought out at the state level legislatively, as is like, we're just not going to have state participation in mutilating kids. At least that's the argument.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there was this sense of, in so many ways, we regulate kids' lives and that kind of stuff. And maybe we do overdo it in some ways. But all of a sudden, for this particular issue, there was a sense of like, any kid who, that they're 11 years old who says that they're trans, and we have to believe them. There could be no psychological evaluation. There could be no questioning whatsoever. Kids know, who they are. It's like, I don't know. Have you met any kids?
Right.
A lot of them are. A lot of adults don't know who they are. Really, is the reality of it. So assuming that everyone who was 11, 12, or 13, absolutely knew what they were doing. Again, I'm open to the idea there may be some kids that would benefit, but a lot of them clearly did not. And I think that it's okay to take have the rigorous evaluation, maybe do a bit more of a wait and see approach. Make sure everybody knows, including the parents, what the real side effects of a lot of the medical interventions can be, so that people can make a much more educated decision. But I think a lot of kids were kind of rushed through, by physicians and therapists, who again their incentives were to show how morally good they were by believing the children and this sort of thing. And so there were a lot of these kind of perverse incentives that I think reduced a lot of critical thinking, a lot of caution, a lot of care around this particular issue.
The other thing, too, is just on social media in general, and just in terms of what sort of impact it's really having on, I guess Gen Z now. Millennials are past post, so Gen Z and the generations coming up behind them.
Yeah.
Brandon Johnson, he's the mayor of Chicago, unfortunately. He recently proposed a social media tax, because social media should be treated as a vice like alcohol or tobacco. And you hear a lot about that, and I'm not saying that 8 hours of screen time is a good thing, and that there's not some measurable intellectual or social emotional stunting that could go along with that sort of constancy. But the studies that I've read about don't seem to provide a causal link between social media and destructive social behaviors. And so, that whole sort of comparison to it as a vice like alcohol and tobacco seems to me a bit overwrought.
Well, everybody wants to be the new smoking and lung cancer. So we kind of see this, comparison come up every single time there's kind of a moral panic around anything, really. As everybody starts talking about smoking and cigarettes, and that's in some ways kind of a red flag that you're using emotional language rather than scientific one. But absolutely, and I think what happens is people, just like happened with video games beforehand and rock music and even the radio and stuff, is you can look at some of the stuff that happens on social media, and some of it is gross. I mean, there's no question whatsoever. And I'm a parent; my kid's an adult now, but there is a sense of like, we want to shield our kids from, things that are, gross or disgusting or whatever. That's fair enough. But there is also this question about like, what is the real impact, of these things if we're worried about mental health or things like that. And the evidence increasingly suggests that, however, good or bad social media is as sort of entertainment content, that we can't even really find clear correlations, let alone causation. It just doesn't seem to be that at least time spent on social media is predictive of youth mental health. And actually, again, in concert with the sort of reductions in identification as non-binary, according to CDC data, youth mental health has actually been improving, over the last few years. Actually, much better than for middle-aged adults, which is interesting.
Well, they're not locked in their room anymore. That helps. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're not even really seeing a correlation here, let alone a causation. So if we're really serious about, youth mental health, really the kind of predictors of that seem to be problems in the family. So if your parent is, suicidal, or your parent is addicted to opiates, or your parent is in prison, things like that, as well as schools. Kids keep trying to tell us that schools stink, that 70 to 80% of kids are telling us that schools are boring and stressful. So those seem to be the two areas that are really having, a real problem for kids is, some kids just have difficulties with their families. It's not always the parents' fault. Sometimes the parents are struggling, and we also have a lot of problems with our schools in the U.S. And those are probably the areas we should be paying a lot more attention to, not trying to ban, social media, which, you're probably going to end up with First Amendment issues anyway, that, you can't really tax, speech that you don't like, is the reality. We saw that proposed with video games, and it didn't work.
Chris Ferguson is a professor of psychology at Stetson University in Florida, author of Catastrophe, The Psychology of Why Good People Make Bad Situations Worse. You can read his musings at grimoiremanor.substack.com as well. Professor Ferguson, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro intro line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Is your tech a train wreck? Slow computers in the office? Printers won't connect? Clueless support team that only asks, "Have you tried clearing the cache?" At Unique Computing Solutions, we cut through the chaos fast. Reliable support and real solutions from a team that actually understands your business. Take control of your tech today. Visit our website at uniquecomputing-solutions.com. That's uniquecomputing-solutions.com. Your IT challenges solved.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:38, we're going to talk to John McCormick, senior editor at The Dispatch. Oh, The Dispatch. This should be interesting. He has penned a piece entitled Fear and Loathing in Chicago about Operation Midway Blitz, and we'll discuss that with him at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 45 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. 69 employees in the Chicago suburb of Harvey have been furloughed, and those include police and fire after the city council voted to designate the city as financially distressed. The Harvey Fire Department told NBC Chicago that at least one of its 3 fire stations will be closing temporarily as part of those furloughs. City officials say 98 workers will continue working to maintain core operations. A bipartisan group of elected officials are applauding a new round of state grants to help police crack down on auto thefts and carjackings. Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Giannalis announced that more than $11 million in new grants have been awarded.
Distribution of these grants has coincided with a gradual drop in vehicle thefts throughout Illinois and a dramatic plummet in the number of carjackings in Chicago.
Giannalis said that the program has helped recover $65 million in stolen vehicles just in the last year. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Well, think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest and Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Nauman and Associates, Scott Tucker Solutions Incorporated, and by Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-367-2816. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-367-2816. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-367-2816. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-367-2816 or biglou.com.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to Marlin and the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the outbound side of 57 between the Dan Ryan and 99th Street with an accident involving a flipped-over car. 2 left lanes are blocked. You want to avoid this? Stick with the Dan Ryan. The inbound Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne interchange is 31 minutes. Outbound is 21. Inbound Stevenson, very slow from Tri-State to Lakeshore, 53 minutes. Outbound is 25. And hitting those brakes on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive as you head towards Hollywood Avenue. Inbound Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 16. Outbound is 28. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to Byrne interchange, 43 minutes. Outbound is 46. And the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the O Post Office is 41. Outbound is 31. This report is sponsored by Starbucks. The pumpkin spice latte is back at Starbucks, handcrafted with their signature espresso and real pumpkin sauce. Then topped with whipped cream, cinnamon, and nutmeg. PSL, get it while it's hot or iced, only at Starbucks. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy and cool with intervals of clouds and sun reaching a high of 50. Tonight, skies will clear with a low of 39. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a mix of sunshine and clouds hitting a high of 54. By Friday, it'll be sunny with a high of 56. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and many more. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Yesterday, Governor Jay Balles and Cardinal Blaise Cupich did a little bit of a ham and egg routine on the matter of federal immigration law enforcement. Pritzker toned down his ICE is a terrorist organization. They're all racist. They're targeting black and brown people just because they're black and brown. You're really responsible. Tone that down a little bit because he was at the Economic Club of Chicago. So he wanted to pretend that he's a middle ground guy and that, of course, Democrats don't support open borders, says a sanctuary state governor. Says a governor who presided over $2 billion in spend on illegal immigrants residing in Illinois. He said, we had a border problem. We don't anymore. Magically, it disappeared. Didn't provide much of an explanation in terms of his understanding of why we don't anymore. This is what he said.
But it starts with that anybody who's progressive is for open borders. Well, some people are. Well, I'll tell you that Democrats are not for open border. I mean, we had a real problem, and we needed to do something about the border. But now we need to do something about the people who work for you and work for other people who are here and law-abiding, doing the right thing, and they want to be good Americans. They want a path towards staying in this country, whether we call it citizenship or just legal residency. We need to give them that path, and we're not doing it today. And the Republicans have never proposed this under Donald Trump. He wants to do something about immigration. He should have come into office, and right away he had control of the House and the Senate. The presidency could have passed immigration reform.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's Trump's fault we don't have some reimagining of our immigration legal regime. Right, Trump's fault. After 4 years of effectively open borders, 4 years of that border problem, J.B. Pritzker referenced that now is not such a problem. Gosh, why is that, Governor? And when Democrats controlled the White House and Congress, they did what on the issue? And then comes Cardinal Blase Cupich with this message to the faithful in the Arch.
My dear brothers and sisters, today I speak to you as your shepherd, but also as a fellow pilgrim who shares the pain of many of our immigrant communities. Families are being torn apart, children are left in fear, and communities are shaken by immigration raids and detentions. These actions wound the soul of our city. Let me be clear. The church stands with migrants. We stand with a mother who crosses borders to feed her children. We stand with a father who labors in silence to build a better future. We stand with the young person who dreams of safety and a better future. Our parishes and schools will not turn away those who seek comfort, and we will not be silent.
And Cardinal, follow-up, do you stand with the illegal immigrant from Venezuela charged with sexually attacking a woman during a Rogers Park home invasion, which constitutes his fifth arrest since June? Apparently, he had sexually abused another woman in Evanston about an hour before he sexually abused a woman in Rogers Park. Do you stand with him, too? Because I didn't hear any distinctions there between the violent and the nonviolent, the legal and the illegal. Sort of a leading indicator of that rhetorical style of the open borders proponent. For more on the topic and the impact of Operation Midway Blitz, please be joined by John McCormack, senior editor at The Dispatch. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me here.
So I read your piece on Operation Midway Blitz, and you heard what the governor and Cardinal Cupich had to say. So, sort of what's your outside assessment of what's happening in Chicago, and maybe as a proxy for what's happening in the larger national debate and cacophony, frankly?
Yeah, I mean, being on the ground, you'd probably have better sense than I do for my time on the ground. But, when the administration announced this, they said it was going to target the worst of the worst criminals. They wasn't sold as we're just going to go out and deport as many people as we can. So, I reached out to DHS. I said, well, how many detainees are there? How many of them are criminals? They said, well, 1,500 detainees. Wouldn't give me an answer on how many actual criminals, aside from obviously crimes related to entering and staying in the country illegally. So, that's one thing I found is that, each of these incidents, there's so many videos flying around, and it's really hard to get the truth of it. There's claims, there's counterclaims, there's video clips, but you don't know what happened before or after. So it's really hard to kind of suss all that out. There are some instances where it's pretty clear, the administration has gotten some facts wrong. For example, there was a woman, there's a video of a woman being detained in Hoffman Estates. What appears to be a federal agent kneels on her back. She says she's 18. The administration put out a statement saying, this isn't even ICE. This is from a year ago, a burglary suspect. Well, in fact, Hoffman Estates police put out a statement confirming that was ICE activity in the area. The parents of the woman said she was 18. She got picked up for recording ICE. So, I found a lot of confusion on the ground in Chicago. What does this mean nationally? I don't know how many other cities are going to have these sort of stepped up campaigns. Obviously one big question looming over the city is whether Trump's going to invoke the Insurrection Act. I think that the more there are aggressive confrontations where you have activists, really are doing some bad things. Obviously, some activists have called on, people to block the cars of ICE. There have been incidents of ICE agents getting rammed, which is totally inexcusable, totally wrong. It's a very a confused environment on the ground, but I'm sure you have a better sense of it than I do.
Well, the confusion is intentional because you take an anecdote and you say, well, this is what's happening writ large. This is everything. That you have a governor saying that they're here to just terrorize. The cruelty is the point. And then, I agree with you, and I've said this several times on the show, including to the acting ICE director when he was on. Like, we need there should be sort of a running description of everybody that's apprehended, just sort of on a constant roll on some dedicated website or on the ICE website. It is the information isn't coming out as fast as I would like to see it in terms of everybody who's been apprehended. But we do have the statements that have been made by Homan and the statistic that's bandied about that 70% of the people that have been apprehended by ICE nationally are either individuals with criminal convictions or criminal charges pending other than being here illegally, which, I assume that proportion probably holds up in Chicago and anywhere else ICE is. And remember, from the information that Anthony Gonzalez, the congressman, got during the Biden era, you were talking about a universe in this country of north of 600,000 people that fit that description. So it's a big job. And then the last thing I'll say is the point that Tom Homan makes all the time, which is we'd prefer to do this at county jails rather than in the neighborhoods. But when you don't get cooperation with state and local officials, we're compelled to go out into the neighborhoods, and it's less safe for everybody.
Yeah, I think the sanctuary city and sanctuary state policies, in Illinois are totally fair game for criticism and have contributed to sort of the confrontational nature of the operation.
Right. So yeah, it's like kind of one of the, J.B. Pritzker is down the road talking or trying to resuscitate immigration reform. We can't even establish a baseline, here as to whether immigration law should be enforced against anybody, despite, some on again, off again paeans to, of course, people who are violent criminals should be removed from Illinois and from America generally, but that's not really how they behave when it comes right down to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And there's reasonable debates on, we're just going to be strict and enforce the law. Whether your only crime is here being illegal, you've been here for 20 years. Sorry, that's a serious moral argument. I just think it'd be better for the administration to make that than to say this is all about criminals. And then, so I said they wouldn't tell me how many of the 1,500 had criminal records. And you mentioned that statistic from Tom Homan. Yeah. But when they announced 1,000 detainees as of October 3rd, they only highlighted 10 with criminal records. Now, that's possible that obviously there's more than 10, that the 10 are the worst of the worst, and they're probably lower level offenses beyond those 10. But again, this administration that Congress just passed that huge budget for ICE. they've got the people, they should have this knowledge. And the fact that they're not conveying it clearly, that, everything kind of seems to be going through this centralized process. I think, someone locally, like a local person, as a press person, kind of clearinghouse for all this stuff would be helpful, because, it's so hard when you have a video clip released, and you don't know the context behind it. You kind of go to DHS for what's the other side of the story here. And sometimes they provide true information. Sometimes they provided inaccurate information. So it'd be helpful if they could kind of really, get some clearinghouse, as you said, someone on the ground to help get the truth out there.
Yeah, I mean, right. But the flip side is they're in a very tough position. I mean, it's sort of like, back in the height of the BLM era, being a local cop in Chicago or another big city. It's like no matter what we do, we're going to be characterized as Pinochet death squads, because that's just the rhetorical position that this political set is taking. And that's clearly the case with respect to most of the power structure in Illinois, because they have to defend these sanctuary state and city policies and other policies that exacerbate the public safety problem here, like Pritzker's no cash bail, and the environment that it's created. And they don't want people focused on that. They want people focused on boogeymen that they invent, like federal law enforcement officers are just in general some sort of, mercenary squad that is disappearing people at Trump's behest, which is preposterous.
Yeah, no, I think some of the rhetoric's definitely been overblown, and obviously the activists are taking some aggressive stances. And it's also true that, the enforcement has been more aggressive than, for example, last week there was an incident where ICE agents used their vehicles to, they claim they were rammed first. The Chicago Tribune or was it the Sun-Times? I'm sorry now. The Tribune at the Times got the video, security video, didn't show the ICE agent getting rammed initially, but did show the ICE vehicle hitting the back corner of the illegal immigrant's vehicle and spinning it out of control. That's a maneuver that the Chicago police are banned from using. So, that resulted in 100 people out there. There's tear gas deployed. This was last Tuesday now, so I haven't seen any further updates on that. But so there are some. It is true. It is an aggressive approach to enforcement, and there obviously is aggressive and even criminal and illegal efforts to stop the enforcement by some activists.
John McCormack, senior at the Dispatch, his piece, Fear and Loathing in Chicago. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
These days, people who are in pain are taking control of their health and looking beyond traditional medicine. Dan Proft here from my friends at QC Kinetics. People just like you are finding lasting relief without steroids, medications, or surgery here in Chicagoland at QC Kinetics. Here's how it works. Your blood contains tiny but mighty healing tools. At QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli and her team get to the root of where your pain stems and concentrates these natural healing tools in the exact location. By putting these natural elements to work, your body can revitalize joints, literally using your own power to heal. It's a simple injection, not a hospital stay. It's fast, all natural, and there's no downtime. So, if your back, knees, or shoulders are keeping you from enjoying life, call my proud sponsor, QC Kinetics, today and schedule a free consultation with Dr. Caravelli and her team. Call QC Kinetics now, 312-827-6261. Again, that phone number, 312-827-6261, 312-827-6261, and tell them I sent you when you do.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
Hi, Dan Proft here. Data shows that boys make up more than 1/3 of those exploited in the sex trade. However, there are virtually no services available to male victims and survivors of trafficking and exploitation. They are often overlooked, ignored, and left without support. For 35 years, Emmaus has been on the front lines of an issue most of us can hardly imagine, helping men and boys in Chicago escape the nightmare of human trafficking and rebuild their lives. On Friday, November 1st, you're invited to attend an unforgettable evening at the Emmaus 35th Anniversary Gala at Fisherman's Inn in Elburn, Illinois. Together, they'll celebrate faith, freedom, and restoration with a beautifully catered dinner, an inspiring program, and a silent auction, all to support the mission of rescuing and restoring survivors. This is your chance to do something that truly matters. Reserve your seat today, or if you can't attend, make a life-changing donation at streets.org. That's streets.org. Emmaus is restoring lives. Let's help them keep going. Visit streets.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft here. Some more color on radicals in the classroom, out on the streets. Radicals running for major offices to represent the neo-Marxist party. First on the streets, just more No Kings fallout. We got another teacher right on the order of that Lucy Martinez, who's the Nathan Hale Elementary School teacher in Chicago that was mocking Charlie Kirk's assassination. Still haven't heard from CPS or Nathan Hale Elementary about that. Of course not. Someone in her ilk who, I honestly did not realize this was a woman. I'm still sort of questioning that. But this is a middle school teacher, Obsidian Middle School in Clear Lake, California. Her name is Barbara Garrett. She looks like Michael Chiklis with a little bit more hair on top. During the No Kings rally, wherever she was, some kids started chanting Charlie Kirk's name because they heard a protester say that Charlie Kirk was a hateful bigot. And these kids, who are like 11 and 12 years old, started chanting his name because they're Charlie Kirk fans. And then Barbara Garrett, when they said Charlie Kirk, she said, Charlie Kirk, they chant, 11 and 12-year-olds, she chants, he's dead. Washington School District reinstates a teacher who she's a Spanish teacher named Kelsey Early. She's been reinstated after being placed on leave earlier this year. Gosh, I wonder why. Here's one of her ditties. This is her version of the national anthem.
2 changes I'm making in my classroom this year.
Ice free Palestine. I'ma say that again, free Palestine.
Trump and ice free Palestine. I must say that again, free Palestine.
Yeah, F ICE and F Trump, Free Palestine. She wanted to make similar changes to the Pledge of Allegiance. Radicals in the classroom. And then there's this guy running for U.S. Senate in Maine to take on Susan Collins. Graham Plattner is his name. In addition to all these intemperate things that he said on Reddit, calling himself a communist and so forth, now it's discovered he literally has a neo-Nazi tattoo on his chest. Grant Plattner, remember the name. His former political director, who resigned last week, Genevieve McDonald, posted on X, I've run out of self-restraint. The D.C. consultant class has effed up our Senate race again. Graham has an anti-Semitic tattoo on his chest. He's not an idiot. He's a military history buff. Maybe he don't know when he got it, but he got it years ago, and he should have covered it up because he damn knows damn well knows what it means. And you just talked about being painfully stupid to even contemplate this guy as their nominee for the Senate race in Maine. We'll have more color on these violent, intolerant leftists tomorrow. But it is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
Helping Ukraine battle Russia.